Testing.
Yes. Oh, yes, it is. I'm just wondering where we're gonna pledge the allegiance. It's a joke. Nobody's here. Shoot.
You want to read the norms?
Okay, where are they? Aren't they on the thing?
Yeah.
I will read them.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
The time now is 7:12. Welcome, everyone, to our open session board meeting. We appreciate your attendance tonight and your support. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I think our flag might be behind the curtain, but you know. That's okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, Shay, may we have a roll call vote to establish a quorum?
Yes, we have Ms. Veronica Moore-Real via Zoom.
Present.
Okay. Ms. Tisworth,
Present.
Ms. Williams,
Present.
Ms. Lane,
Here.
Dr. Coleman,
Present.
Dr. Von Elliott,
Present.
and Ms. Jackson has not joined us.
Thank you.
I don't have them yet.
Oh, here, I'll give you mine. At this time, I can see it. Oh, there we go. There. Ms. Lane will read our board norms.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
We are a cohesive team. We pause to hear all voices after someone speaks. We consider all opinions. We assume positive intentions. We believe in collective agreement, collective voices to reach decisions, honor and respect the work of the board, honoring and supporting the board decision at all times. We will be prepared for meetings. The board will review the packet details and submit questions within the established time frame. Members of the board will arrive 5 minutes prior to the start of the meetings. Administration will release board packets to the RGSD Board of Education within the identified time frame. No, we will not allow outside entities to dictate board actions. Riverview Garden School District Board of Education decisions will be made based on facts, policies, and procedures, not individuals' opinions or requests. We will educate and encourage the community to follow proper protocols for voicing all concerns. And this is from Policy KC, Community Engagement.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
It's been moved by Dr. Vi Elliott to approve the agenda. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, and it's been seconded by Ms. Williams. Are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The motion is carried. At this time, we will call for Riverview Excellence.
Good evening, Board of Education, Dr. Patton, colleagues, community, and scholars. Today, we have a lot of honorees, and so first, many of us were just in the library with the Riverview Gardens High School football team, and I will ask them to stand. We know you guys have some pizza waiting for you, so just stand up for now. And we are honoring the Riverview Gardens High School football team. They won the first conference championship, Suburban Blue Conference Championship, since 1998. This team went 5-0 in conference this year, and again, it was the first conference championship since 1998. They were featured in an article by the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Yeah, go ahead and come up front. And so we want to give them their due. It's a long time coming. We have alumni here. We have a lot of people here, and so we just want to thank this team for their hard work. We have a plaque that they earned. Unfortunately, that didn't make it here tonight. But what we also want to do is honor the coach, the head coach, Coach Mack, Leon McElrath. He was named the Coach of the Year for the conference, and so we just want to present you with that. Also, we know your team has a plaque, and so we just want to say congratulations, a wonderful job. If you guys scoot together a little bit, we know you just took a picture with the board, but let's get one of you here as well. Let's give it up for the football team. And you guys can go enjoy that pizza now. We appreciate you. All right, and as they make their way back to the library, next, if our Meadows Elementary honorees are here, if you can stand, and I don't want to butcher this name, Karami Collins. Is that? All right. Victoria Roberts and Sean Allen.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you can go ahead and come on up. And Serenity Arnold. Okay, Serenity isn't here. Okay, come on over, Mr. Collins. All right. Well, let me read the other two who were not able to make it. We had Victoria Roberts and Sean Allen. They are relatives of Meadows scholars King, Queen, and Angel Allen. And they have gone above and beyond to support their family members with their academic and social needs. They're always willing to support the school and school personnel. Also, Serenity Arnold is a Meadows Elementary scholar. She is an amazing student, has excellent attendance, appropriate behavior, and has made amazing academic progress. She attended the Boeing STEAM program and played on the flag football team. And of course, Mr. Collins is the father of Camonte Collins. I'm guessing, is this Camonte here? Yeah, come on up with your dad. Come on up with dad. Mr. Collins is actively involved in his son's life. He attends all family activities. He is supportive of the school and school personnel, and he truly wants the best for his son. So for that, we award you, Mr. Collins, with Riverview Excellence. And if the board can come and take a picture with Mr. Collins, we appreciate all your efforts. Yeah, come on, Dr. Winfield. Thank you. And next, before you go too far, board, we do have one more group, our Danforth Elementary honorees, Miss Lisa Dick, Don Harvey, and Melvin Isby. Are they here? All right. Okay, and Dr. Ramey. So Miss Lisa Dick is the lead teacher at Danforth. She has years of educational experience. She's willing to support in any capacity. She has strong relationships with parents, staff, and scholars, and we thank her for being a support system for the Danforth family. You are a model of Riverview excellence. Let's give it up for Miss Lisa Dick. And then as they seat, I'll read the other individuals who weren't able to be in attendance. Mr. Don Harvey is a lead custodian supervisor at Danforth. He's the first person there in the morning, making sure the building's safe, secure, and clean. He's an all-around good person and never complains. Mr. Melvin Isby is an all-around friendly personality that draws people into his presence. Mr. Isby has dedicated years of service to Riverview Gardens as a member of the custodial department, and he'll be retiring in 2025. And so Dr. Ramey and Danforth wanted to honor Mr. Isby with this special recognition for Riverview excellence. And that concludes my report.
Wow. That was awesome. Shay, are there any comments? Any public comments?
We do not have any public requests for comments for this meeting.
Okay, well, thank you. Board members, any announcements? Good, because I have one. I want to thank Riverview Gardens for showing up and showing out Saturday at the 2024 Apple for the Teacher Awards. It was awesome. It was so wonderful. I felt so honored. All of us did, all of our Riverview family. It was just an honor. And you all just, I mean, y'all showed up. It was a lot of y'all. I was excited. It was so many people. I just said, hey, you guys, these are my children. Children, this is my Riverview family. It was really wonderful. It was a beautiful experience. And it was a wonderful opportunity to be honored and to represent Riverview Gardens. So we truly thank you for your support. Nothing else? Okay. All right. At this time, I'd like a motion to approve the consent agenda. That's where we are now.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So move.
It's been motioned by by Dr. Yvonne Elliott and second by
Yes.
Ms. Lane to approve the consent agenda. Are there any questions? Any comments?
No.
All right, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Can you hear us, Ms. Morrow Real?
Yes, I can hear you all.
Okay,
It's kind of going in and out.
okay.
I was trying to raise my hand to see if you had done board announcements.
Yes,
Just
that's-
did.
I'm sorry, I couldn't get in.
Okay.
we'll,
I
we'll,
did have one announcement. If it's too late, that's fine.
no, we'll make room for you. So the motion is passed to approve the consent agenda. You had an announcement, Ms. Morrow Real?
Yes, I did. I wanted to announce to the board and our Riverview Gardens community that in March of 2025, the governing council will be voting on the special school district board board of education members. Our region, Riverview Gardens, is part of part of sub-district 4, which is Ferguson, Florissant, Pattonville, and Riverview Gardens. So if anybody is interested in running for the Special School District Board of Education, the opening date is December the 10th. The closing date is December 31st, and the election is to be held on March 3rd. Again, anybody that's interested, you can contact Special School District to get more information as to the process, how it works. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, do we have a report from our student representative? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Keyshawn Word, a student representative for the high school. Starting off, we have positive things happening at Riverview Gardens High School. We recently held an honor roll event to acknowledge the students who have achieved a GPA of 3.0 or higher. This event recognized the hard work and determination of our high school students.
The senior class office organized a successful Pie in the Face fundraiser and raised over $200. This was a fun and engaging way for our senior class to come together and support their class activities. And special shout out to Romeo Bailey for being the most pied person and raising the most money out of all the students. The last volleyball game of the season was held earlier today, featuring a match between the seniors and the high school staff. Students with no disciplinary referrals were able to attend and watch not only the volleyball game, but also performances by cheerleaders, band, and the Sapphires dance team.
The opportunity for students with good behavior to attend this event is an example of how Riverview Gardens High School is using positive reinforcements to promote a safe and engaging school environment.
Our principal, Dr. Smith, recently highlighted several impressive student achievements at the high school, which are 867 of our students have had 0 disciplinary issues this year. 546 students have a GPA of at least 2.5 or higher, and 460 students have an attendance record of 90% or above.
The Rambler, our school news publication, has published its first 2 issues this year. The first is a welcome back issue, and the second was a special edition commemorating the 10-year anniversary of the tragic passing of Michael Brown.
These are just a few of the many positive things happening at Riverview Gardens High School. Our students continue to excel academically, demonstrate strong school spirit, and make meaningful contributions to our school's community.
Some of the upcoming events at Riverview Gardens High School is starting with the Christmas Movie Night fundraiser, which is being planned in collaboration with the National Honor Society, FBLA, and the student class officers. Has been rescheduled from Tuesday, December 10th to Wednesday, December the 11th from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m.
At this event, we will be showing a Christmas movie, serving hot chocolate, and providing board games for everyone at the high school to enjoy. This fundraiser is designed to bring the school community together and spread holiday cheer.
Our high school will be hosting a Christmas Spirit Week from December 9th to December 13th. These days are activities for the Spirit Week are being organized by the senior class office and will be finalized once we come back to school after fall break.
This Spirit Week is intended to build school spirit and excitement among the students before they have to go to finals week, which can be a very stressful time.
Moving on to student expectations, Riverview Gardens High School is continuing to implement RAM's Pride, which stands for Perseverance, Respect for All, Integrity, Discipline, and Engagement. This is recited during the morning and afternoon announcements daily, reinforcing these core values for our students.
Riverview Gardens High School is committed to maintaining a fight-free campus. Our teachers and administrators hold students to a high standard and ensure a safe and positive learning environment.
Riverview Gardens High School is taking an important step to amplify students' voices and address both positive and constructive feedback. From the school community, the administration is planning to send out a Google form that will be accessible to both students and staff.
This forum will serve as a platform for the school community to share many positive things that are happening at our high school that may sometimes go unnoticed. This will also help us as student representatives gain more comprehensive understanding of the school's strengths.
Additionally, the forum will provide a channel for communication to bring up any issues or concern that needs to be addressed. This will empower the students' representatives to advocate for positive change.
By leveraging the power of the Google Forms, Riverview Gardens High School is creating a structured and inclusive way for students' voice to be heard. This will strengthen the partnership between the administration, staff, and students and foster a culture of continuous improvement.
The student representatives are excited to collect this valuable feedback and work collaboratively with our school leadership to address the needs of Riverview Gardens High School community.
Thank you. This concludes our report.
Thank you. At this time, we will receive our superintendent's report.
Thank you, Board President. I just want to remind everybody the weather is starting to change. We're going to start having snow days, but we're going to be at school because guess what we have? We have Chromebooks. So we have reminded our principals to start getting those ready to send home. Mr. Scheid is working with our custodians to start preparing for the supplies. Starting December the 10th, we will have the open comment, the public comment section for you to share your thoughts. So look for that in your emails because we really want your feedback on what to do about our demographic study. And then finally, Thanksgiving break starts in about an hour and a half. So the schools will be closed Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So we will welcome our employees and our students back on Monday, December the 2nd. That concludes my announcements.
Thank you so much. At this time, we'll move to our items.
Yep, I'll go right into items for information. Our first item up for information is the RGSD New Board Candidate Information Session. The presenter for this is Ms. Shay Fields, the Coordinator for Board Governance, Ishmael Sistrunk, the Executive Director of Communications, and this is in line with Policy BBB, School Board Elections. Ms. Fields?
Thank you, Dr. Patton. Good evening, everyone. As requested by the Special Measure Board of Education at the last board meeting, I am here to present information as it relates to the upcoming school board election, which will be April the 8th, 2025. And so what I want to share with everyone is that the Board of Education will have 2 seats available for that election. And so anyone who is interested would need to file their necessary paperwork with the St. Louis County Election Board, and the address is 725 Northwest Plaza Drive in St. Anne, Missouri. And that candidate filing will begin on December the 10th at 8 a.m. And it will conclude at 4:30 p.m., Monday through Friday. And then on the last day of filing, which is December 31st, it will end at 5 p.m. So it will be from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on that very last day as required by statute. Okay, and also just to let those know who are interested in running, on the very first day, there will be a random drawing, and that will determine the placement, your placement on the ballot for the election. And so attached with my agenda item are some additional resources that would aid someone if they had questions on, what is expected of a board member. So I would ask that you review the revised candidate training document that was prepared and updated by Mr. Sistrunk and I thank him for doing that because it includes the information such as administration, name, titles, and things of that nature. And so I'll turn it over to Mr. Sistrunk so he can talk about what we've done to post this information and share this information, social media.
Good evening. And in regards to that, we have shared the information on the district's website as a news article. We've shared it on social media, including Facebook, Instagram, X, Nextdoor. And so we will continue to push that information out, especially as that December 10 deadline comes out. But we've been trying to make sure that we get that information out to the community so everybody who may be interested or wants to get some more information on that is able to do that. So you can go to the district website. There's a news article right there, but also under the Board of Education section, there's an area where people can go to and just get more information on that. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fields and Mr. Sistrunk. Our next item up for information are the data presentations from Danforth Elementary School and Meadows Elementary School. Our presenters will be Dr. Candace Ramey, principal of Danforth Elementary School, and Dr. Wendy Winfield, principal of Meadows Elementary School, as well as Ms. Barbara Sharp. She's the Executive Director of Continuous Improvement and our Title IX Coordinator. Ms. Sharp?
Good evening. Board of Education, Superintendent Patton, colleagues, scholars, and members of the community. As tonight, we will have presentations from Danforth and Meadows Elementary School. They will focus specifically on their monthly attendance. They will focus on their 90-90, focusing with an emphasis on the 90-90 attendance. Also, they will focus on the STAR assessment in the area of mathematics and other forms of data. So please receive Dr. Ramey, who will be followed by Dr. Winfield. Dr. Winfield is also accompanied by her assistant principal, Mrs. Laura Erickson. At the completion of this presentation, we will entertain any questions that you may have. Dr. Ramey.
Good evening, Board, Riverview Gardens Board of Education, Dr. Patton, colleagues, and community. Tonight I'll be presenting the data presentation for Danforth Elementary as Ms. Sharp has stated. I will begin presenting the attendance data for Danforth. If you look at our attendance data at Danforth, our average daily attendance ranges from 81% to 91%. And if you also see the comparison within this year, in the current school year, you also notice the trend continues at around 90%. The area where we're looking at is the 90-90%. At 90-90, we started out very strong in August at 70.49%, at 71%. And as you can see, it's higher from the 23-24 school year. When you look down, you see a decrease right around October. So in the data, it's around 58%, 57%. So what we're doing with the attendance committee is that we're focusing in on sending out letters, home visits, tardy letters as well, so that we can support our families with getting our scholars to school on time. For our math performance data from our STAR performance data, we are looking at the comparison from 23-24 school year in the fall and 24 school year this year in the fall. We noticed that there is an increase in our proficient and advanced performance for our scholars, and that is something to just be proud of and celebrate. So in our first grade, we're seeing 27%. You know, that's a really big gain in the math data. What we're still concerned about is that we do still have work to do. We have our 4th and 5th grade scholars also increasing the proficient and advanced areas as well. So we're moving scholars from below basic into the basic and proficient areas, and that is the direction and the trend that we want to see. Map comparison data is showing that we're following a cohort from 3rd grade to 5th grade. And as you can see, our MPI scores in those areas, or from 22 to 25, we saw some growth with 4th grade for that MPI data, at 297.3, but then we saw a slight decrease again. We are still seeing some strengths because we are moving our scholars yet into the proficient and advanced. So our 5th grade scholars moved more scholars in the proficient and advanced area at 9.5%. So from 3rd grade, 6.3 increase. We had a little dip in the data for 4th grade, but we moved back up again. So our trends, we are just needing to stay on this path. Our math data shows that 5th graders did increase in proficient and advanced as well. So the target this year is to focus on the instruction. So strengthening that tier 1 instruction, strengthening small group instruction, and also interventions are built into our daily schedule. Celebrations for Danforth. I'm just going to highlight one specific in our data. ELA has increased by 8%, so our proficient and advanced range performance for our scholars has increased by 8%, and that is a good movement in the right direction. We conduct walkthroughs, so we do instructional sweeps because we have a focus on our critical 6. So as we go into classrooms, we're observing learning targets. We're looking at the classroom environment, what's going on in the classroom, and student engagement. Those walkthroughs were successful because you see what is happening at Danforth. So we see that the teachers and scholars are working. So they have work to do, and they're doing the work. We have a celebration. Daily we have PBIS assemblies or monthly daily morning meetings. Those meetings really are grabbing our scholars' attention and supporting our teachers as well. So we participate in different activities to make sure that our scholars are understanding being safe, being respectful, and being kind, or being responsible, those expectations that we have in the district. We also have, this is to improve our culture and climate. We also have engagement activities with First Lego League clubs, Art Therapy Club, Science Club, and Student Council, as well as dance clubs. So we are on the move, and I have a couple of pictures up showing our learning walks, family engagement, the family trunk or treat, our Father's Walk, and Students of the Month. We also celebrate our Scholars of the Month. We celebrate our parents and our Teachers of the Month as well and recognize them. Okay. That was our presentation. I will call Dr. Wendy Winfield and Ms. Laura Erickson.
Good evening, Board of Education. Sorry, I've been sick. I'm going to try to get it out. Good evening, Dr. Patton, community, colleagues, friends, and family. We're here to present data on Meadows Elementary, as Ms. Sharp had shared. The first slide is about our average daily attendance and our 90-90 attendance. And if you notice from 23-24 to 24-25, it is decreased significantly. I think there are a couple of factors that contribute. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize that. It has decreased significantly, and I feel like we have 2 brand-new secretaries, so learning the process of updating attendance and reaching out to families. But one of the things that we did to try to improve that was we started doing our monthly attendance celebrations. So far, we had August and September, we had a huge ice cream social. In October, we had a glow party, which the kids loved. We had 198 students participate in that. Our next activity for the month of November will be cookie decorating. And what do we have, 165? We looked it up this evening, and there's 168 students who are eligible for the attendance party when we return from break. All right, so math performance data. When you look at our data from fall of 23-24 to 24-25 fall, you can see that we overall, with the exception of first grade, had shown improvement. If you look at, we went from 11% of our students in proficient and advanced to 14 in the fall, 5 to 9, 9 to 11, and 7 to 10. So from fall to fall, we have seen a growth. If you look from spring to fall, we have also shown a growth. At this time, we have 28% of our first graders in proficient and advanced, 14% of our second graders, 9% of our third graders, 11% of our fourth graders, and 10% of our fifth graders, which is an improvement overall from last spring. We have been working diligently with our solution tree coach, Janet Nuzzi, to establish our Tier 1 as well as our Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions for our students, and we have allotted time within our schedule to perform those activities with our scholars. Our MAP data, I think the most important thing is if you look at our MPI from 2022, we're at 292, and we had a huge jump to 318 in ELA, and we stayed consistent in 2024 with those fifth graders as the cohort went on. In the area of math, we also showed a huge increase from third grade to fourth grade, and then there was another drop when it came to fifth grade, contributing to, it's interesting how fifth graders become fifth graders. They think they're little adults sometimes. So we had some challenges within that group. And I'm gonna let Ms. Erickson share some of our celebrations.
Good evening. Some celebrations that we'd like to share about Meadows are our percentage of below basic in fall 24-25 is an average 5% lower than in the 23-24 STAR math in the spring. Also, our fall 24-25 proficient and advanced is an average of 6% higher in comparison to our spring 23-24 STAR math. So we're showing some great gains there. According to MSIP 6 APR report, academic achievement growth in both ELA and math is on track. So we're very proud of those achievements. You'll also see some photographic evidence of some things that we've been doing around the building. These show our promotion and collaboration with our families and our staff and our scholars. We have a student of the month. We have one for K through 2 and one for 3 through 5. We did a bonding over breakfast that was very well attended by all of our families. We had a phenomenal turnout for the Father Walk. Heard we had the highest in the district. So the glow party, that was a huge success for that attendance incentive to try to get them come. We also have started an attendance incentive in our morning meetings that we do in terms of getting them to school on time, not just that overall attendance, but getting here on time. So we've started another layer to that in our morning meetings with our scholars. And then we do a monthly birthday celebration to recognize all of the birthdays that we have each month. We also had a wonderful turnout to the Little Bit Career Fair. Our students walked around, did a fantastic job asking questions, about what it takes to get into that career path. They had papers, they were writing things down, they were taking stuff back, they were very excited. They learned about being financially literacy and responsible through the bank, firefighters, sanitation, we had karate, a bunch of different things that they were able to see that they really enjoyed. That concludes our presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Are there any questions at this time?
No, you read it.
Ms. Sharp, maybe I'm confused. I'm looking back at the map comparison data. Our 2023 fourth graders would have been our 2024 fifth graders. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. So they're following a cohort.
Okay.
That's how they're reporting the information.
So I'm looking at, there were as fourth graders, they were 43% below basic. As fifth graders, they were 54% below basic. But then 35, they moved almost 20, well, the basic for the 2024 became 35%. So I guess that is some growth if I'm looking at the year before when they were 43%.
Yes.
However, then when I look at there were no proficient and advanced as fourth graders, and then you had 1.96. So I do see the growth there. I'm concerned that for the proficient in 2023, we had 12%, but we only had 7%. So that was a decrease in the number of students proficient. And I see the same decrease in math. What do we, I know that we're working with Solution Tree and all of that, but what other specific programs or special programs do you have to try to bring those students up?
So, and thank you for the question. And I believe you're referring to Meadows data?
Yes.
Okay. So I will allow them to speak in just a moment. Okay. But I will say that as a board, you approved additional support in the area of mathematics as well as literacy. And so we have additional hours or additional days in which we're giving some additional support to the school. Added to that is the support that comes from our very own curriculum and instruction department. And so they have been very intensive about going into the class, going into buildings and working and providing supports in the school. So those are two areas that I will share. But I also know that they're working, looking at, you've heard both principals talk about the interventions. And so they've been spending an enormous amount of time looking at the data, being specific in terms of where students are performing, and making sure that they are looking at those standards and supporting those scholars in those particular areas. So they're being very data specific. It is a process. And I think I heard Dr. Winfield say that the behavior, some issues as they transition to from fourth grade to fifth grade. So I'm sure that that attributes to some of the decline. But I also know that Mrs. Erickson was an instructional coach prior to her leadership role, and she brings a plethora of supports to support the school in both mathematics as well as literacy. So I don't know if I covered it all, if you need to add more. Certainly.
So one of the things that we have done is our fourth grade team was really, really strong.
She really is going to speak to it.
I'm trying. So our fourth grade team was really, really strong. They understood how to increase the rigor, because what we found was we were not meeting grade level standards, right? So this year, our fourth grade team split up. So one of the strong teachers stayed in fourth grade and one went down to third grade. So they're now team leads. The fourth grade teacher also has common plan time with the fifth grade team, and she's working with them to make sure they're keeping that rigor up. Now, I will say, I moved the one fifth grade teacher left, one has moved down, and we made some transitions with staffing to try to get the strongest people within those areas. Now, we do have some wonderful international teachers that have started with us, but it's a learning curve. So I'm a little nervous about what the data is going to look like, but Solution Tree has came in and coached them around ELA. They've also came in around math. Kim Mott has been in modeling in the classroom. SSD staff has come and helped them with their classroom universals. And then, of course, Ms. Erickson and I have modeled in the classroom for the teachers and asked them to give us feedback and see what might work for them. So those are some of the things that we're doing.
Are you seeing some growth in students' performance since you started those initiatives?
Definitely the rigor has stepped up. You know, when you think about, I can't imagine coming to a new country, to a new resource, to a new building, to a new demographic. And so a lot of the behaviors were something that they hadn't seen. So we had to spend a lot of our time initially working through, how do you teach our students? How do you manage the classroom on top of learning the curriculum? So I have high hopes that maybe not this year, but next year we're going to do much better.
And I commend you for moving teachers to have that vertical teaming and to put those teachers in those spots where they're needed, those strongest teachers where they're needed. And it takes a lot of courage as a principal to move those teachers out of their comfort zone, because I know how we are when we get comfortable, and I've been teaching this grade for 35 years, and what do you mean you want me to do something else? So I commend you for that, and I think that that's a good move for the staff and for the students as well. It's good to shake things up sometimes. It keeps us all on our toes. Thank you.
All right.
So my question.
Ms. Lane, there's a question,
So all of these numbers are a whole lot of numbers. I know you all you all just excellent. And I know you're doing everything you can once the children come to school. So I had kind of a small conversation with one of the colleagues about another program in another state. And the question that was posed, the statement that was posed to me, which I actually hadn't thought about it this way, is we don't know what our children have to go through to get to school. So now we're talking about, because one of you mentioned not only getting to school, but getting to school on time. So is that because the school bus isn't coming to get them on time? Is it because the private school, the private transportation, the home? I mean, why are they not able to come to school on time? Do you know?
Yes, I greet the scholars that are car riders every day. And so we're out from 7:50 to 8:05 greeting them. At 8:05, we shut the doors, and then they have to come through the front.
Okay.
And it's parental responsibilities, and they're just getting here late. So in our, we have morning meeting, and so the classes with the highest attendance, they have to be in by 8:05, sitting down, ready to. We give them, like, we've done donut parties and cupcake parties each month. And if the teachers come on time, the classes get 3 extra percentage points to try to encourage the teachers to be here on time. Because being on time is an issue. I'm not sure why, but it's an issue. So those are some of the incentives we're doing to get everybody here on time.
What are we doing to end? I know that you guys are sending out letters and knocking on doors and things like that. Are the parents responding to you?
So we were just going through all of our attendance, and some of it is, like, we will have a transient population. So, like, right now I have a child with 40% attendance because they've transferred, but they haven't enrolled anywhere else, so we have to keep them on our roll until we actually get them to enroll somewhere else. So those are more challenging. If the home to school coordinator can't find them, like, I reach out to our school resource officer. He can run systems like, we can't find this family, so they're going to look through other service resources that they may get to see if we can get an updated address. So it's a challenge once they leave our building and we don't know where they go. It's hard to figure it out sometimes. But majority of our parents are very responsive.
I'm asking these questions because these are the questions that I'm asked in my community. And my very first response is, we have done all that we know how to do as a board to provide training for our instructors, and we are very confident in the proficiency of our teachers. There is a balance, though, and I'm not sure how you mix that together, but there are challenges that the numbers are not, they're not good. So I don't know if the parents don't understand that or what we need to do to try to communicate this a little bit more effectively.
So I would just like to share with you that all of the building principals have plans, and so they really have been working to address the attendance issues. In our district leadership team, we are now beginning to have some conversations about this specific topic, and we're looking to make some additional steps. So we're just beginning this process. We know that we have a plethora of resources that are available and tons of supports, but as a district leadership team, working with our superintendent, the plan is to begin looking at the attendance and seeing if we can pinpoint and be more specific. Principals are doing some amazing work, and so we want to, as a district, begin to provide some supports as well.
Thank you, Ms. Sharp. And Ms. Lane and board members, this has been a struggle since I've come to the district and probably before I came to the district. So the importance of attendance, we are driving that in. We have home to school coordinators, we have restorative, we have social workers and counselors. The Student Support Services Department is working to generate ideas on how we can express to our parents the importance of school attendance. Because if we have them in our building, then they can learn. But if they're not in our building, we are simply unable to educate them effectively. So I'll take this opportunity, since we are on YouTube, to tell our parents, if you are watching, the attendance of your students are so important to their future success. They have to be in the building, they have to be on time. But this is a battle that we've been fighting, and we are not giving up. We will continue to find ways to reach our parents, to support them. For the ones that are struggling themselves, they need support, so we want to support them. But also we want them to understand that the success of their student relies on educating them. You'll see that in the state of the district, one of the things I say is that education is a civil rights issue. Right now, it has become that because many brown and black children are not being effectively educated, not because we are not doing all that we can, but that they're not there, and we are looking for ways to reach them. So I had to chime in because this is our opportunity to speak, but I appreciate you bringing that up. And you know, when I'm in the community, they ask me that as well. What are the things we can do? And we are open to any idea that anyone can bring us, because I can tell you we've done everything but not put a key in the door, unlock the door, walk in, take the baby out of the house, and bring the baby to school. But we can do that too. We can do that too. So we will keep trying, because this is so important to the future of our students, that we need to get them at school.
Thank you, Superintendent.
Thank you, Dr. Patton. Dr. Patton, I'm concerned, Dr. Winfield brought up a very important point, and I don't want to just go over that. Teacher attendance now, that's a horse of another color, because I understand that children, their parents have to get them to school, and we can't blame elementary kids because they don't drive, they don't set alarm clocks, they don't do the laundry, they don't cook the breakfast, they don't comb their hair, they don't do that. Parents do that. But teachers, and I understand life happens. Been a teacher. I've had life happen. I've locked myself out the house. I've been caught behind an accident or had a flat tire, whatever other plethora of reasons that will cause you to be late, but it cannot be chronic and it cannot be a habit and it cannot continue to happen. Now, when I was last at, Riverview, we had a system of, and the teachers all kicked against it, but we had to clock in, go into the computer, and when you got in, and are we still doing that?
Teachers do not have to clock in, Dr. Coleman.
Perhaps we should go back to that.
Perhaps.
It's on that, you know where it is on that time.
I know where it is.
Because that should be a part of the evaluation.
It should be a part of the
And it is
evaluation.
definitely a point for professional improvement. And I'm all for grace and all of that, but let's be serious. If education is not important to us, how can we make it important to our families? Because you better believe that child has gone home and said, my teacher late all the time.
You're right.
And parents would say, you're not even here on time. Don't say anything, So we've got to do what we have to model what we expect.
Absolutely.
We have to be where we're supposed to be, when we're supposed to be there. We have to be on time. There is no excuse. I understand life happens, but if your life keeps happening every day, then it's time for you to reevaluate how you set up your life. Because you can't not be here on time. That is inexcusable. So perhaps we need to look back into the teachers clocking in. That way the principals have that documentation, and then it becomes a conversation. It becomes documentation. It becomes, I need to improve. It's not a got you. It's not, we want you to improve. We want the best for you. So if the best for you is sitting down talking to you about how you can get to school on time, because we know that sometimes there's some stuff you need to do before you start your class in the morning, and if you late, you can't do that stuff. If you late, you can't make your copies. If you late, you can't set up your classroom. You need to be there to greet those students when they hit the door. You should be standing at the door greeting them. So we have to remove
I
all
totally
the
agree with that.
excuses. Thank you.
Accountability. Thank you, Dr. Coleman.
Thank you.
I feel like you should have dropped the mic somewhere in there.
I
Dr.
know,
Coleman.
that's my soapbox, but
Okay.
okay. We gotta be on time, yeah.
All
And
right.
encourage your colleagues, put some peer pressure on them, say, girl, get here on time.
So moving into items for discussion, if there are no more questions on the data presentations. First item up for discussion is the cafeteria furniture purchase for Gibson and Meadows Elementary School. Making this presentation is Mr. Carl Scheid. He's our Executive Director of Facilities and Food Service, and this is in conjunction with Policy DJF, Purchasing. Mr. Scheid?
Good evening, Board of Education, Dr. Patton, colleagues, and community. Tonight I come before the board seeking to discuss the purchase of cafeteria furniture for Gibson Elementary and Meadows Elementary. As stated in the background of this information, there was a collaborative effort to meet up with the principals to assess what the needs were in terms of their cafeteria furnishings. We engaged with CI Select, who's an Education Plus cooperative purchasing vendor, and we sat down and met with the principals at these schools to find out what the needs were, to better understand the space, the function of the cafeteria, the lunch shifts. And so we've arrived at the attached plans. So there's actually layouts that are included electronically with this board item, as well as the proposals that were submitted by CI Select. So ultimately, this is the purchase of 10 cafeteria tables for Gibson and 10 cafeteria tables for Meadows. This is being funded out of the food service fund. So this is not hitting our GOB. This is specifically coming out of the food service fund. So our food service fund sometimes has a surplus, which allows us to then reinvest that money in things like cafeteria furniture, like kitchen improvements, and then the food service program itself. So this is a permissible expense to buy cafeteria furniture out of the food service fund. Be happy to take any questions you may have.
Just have a question. My general question is for all these items, and I guess you can, I'm just saying it now so you can answer it then, about our RFP process and how the vendor was selected.
Yeah, so this is through Education Plus Purchasing Co-op. So we as a district we're a member of this purchasing co-op, which allows us to make purchases. So basically, things are pre-bid and pre-negotiated when you're working with a purchasing co-op. So that allows us to not have to go through a full comprehensive RFP process, and thus those prices are pre-negotiated on the front end. So then it's really a matter of a turnkey process that we go through with them selecting the furniture that we need and moving forward with the purchase.
Are they a company we used before, or? Okay.
Yes, yeah. So actually, last year when we replaced the cafeteria furniture at Central Middle School, we utilized them, and obviously we're very pleased with our purchase. And then we do still have funds in this existing budget to buy more cafeteria furniture as well this year. So I will be coming back with some more schools to facilitate those purchases as well. Any other questions? All right.
Thank you, Mr. Scheid.
Thank you.
Our next item up for discussion is the title grant acceptance carryover. Making this presentation is Ms. Lakina Curtis, the Director of Federal Programs, and this is in conjunction with Policy DD, Grant, State, and Federal Programs. Ms. Curtis?
Good evening, Riverview Gardens School Board of Education, Superintendent Patton, colleagues, and community. Tonight I bring forth the Title I grant revision and carryover for discussion. The application for funding source Title I Little A was approved on September 18th, and at this time no carryover funds have been established for Riverview Gardens. A revision was completed and submitted on November 18th, 2024. The application for funding source Title I Big A, which also includes Title II and Title IV, was returned to the LEA for updates on August 8th and resubmitted September 12th. It was then returned on November 12th and then resubmitted again on November 18th. At that time, on November 12th, when it was returned, carryover funds were established for the district, which required an update to the current budget. All updates and revisions were completed and resubmitted to DESE as of November 18th. The budget impact for Title I Big A, the initial allocation was roughly $4.6 million. The current allocation, including the carryover, is about $5.1 million, which is an increase of $497,066.43. There are no changes to the Title I preschool allocation. Title II, the original allocation was $518,574. The current allocation is now $696,780.67, which is an increase of $178,206.67. Title IV, the initial allocation was $315,768, and the current allocation is now $372,716.65, which is an increase of $56,948.65. At this time, Title I Little A, there are no changes as there is no carryover been allocated to the district. I am still being optimistic about that. There are some glitches, have been some glitches this year with the funding application in their system. I was just able today to submit what's called the FER report. I started it at the end of October and there was no submit button, and I just was able to submit it today. So hopefully that will generate some possible carryover funds for Little A, so I'm going to be optimistic about that. So again, the initial total allocation started the year with about $7.6 million, and we are about at 8.3, which is an increase of $732,221.75. At this time, Federal Programs is requesting that the Riverview Gardens Board of Education accept and approve the immediate use of available grants, and a recommendation for approval
will be presented later in this meeting. Are there any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Curtis. Our next item up for discussion is our staffing plan adjustment. Making this presentation is Mr. Travis Ford, Senior Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, and this is in conjunction with policy IHB class size.
Good evening, school board members, Dr. Patton, colleagues, and community. Today I have before you the staffing plan adjustments. Each year, adjustments are recommended to the staffing plan based on the current enrollment. Currently, there are grade levels in our elementary schools and courses in our secondary schools that have enrollment and consistent attendance significantly below the DESE and policy standard. To maintain compliance with policy IHB class size, which is aligned with the DESE class size standards, the following adjustments to the staffing plan are being recommended. These adjustments are to remove teacher allocations at the following locations. Remove one teacher allocation at Meadows, one allocation at Lee Masters, one allocation at Gibson, one allocation at Lewis and Clark, one allocation at Moline, one allocation at Central, well, 3 allocations at Central Middle, 2 allocations at Westview Middle School, and 2 allocations at the high school. These reductions will allow us to fill 10 classrooms that are currently covered by substitute teachers with certified teachers. It is budgeted, and the estimated cost is a reduction of $89,100. It is recommended that the Riverview Garden School Board approve the adjustments to the 24-25 staffing plan to comply with policy IHB class size, which is aligned with the DESE class size standards. Are there any questions?
Yes.
Go ahead, please.
Just curious about my inquiry with the counselor, social worker for Michelle Obama. Are we able, based on the budget, to potentially add that as an allocation?
Dr. May, we haven't looked into that because we're in the middle of budget reductions. And so we are looking at our staffing, we're looking at budgets across the district. And so we haven't analyzed our ability to cover that position, especially when we are doing budget reductions across the district. However, Ms. Liddell and I had spoken about, we have plenty of partners who we have reached out to see how they can support Michelle Obama, as well as district counselors within our district that are already here that can probably reach out to support that. So we are in the middle of kind of looking at that. And so right now, I can't answer the question because we're doing budget reductions across for the remainder of this school year, and then as we look at next school year as well, in order to shore up the difference between our expected expenditures and our expected revenues.
Okay. Well, the consideration was based on, feedback from attending the parent meeting, and understanding that the lack of that person is causing stress on the teachers, which we know we need them. And so if they had to go out and have to get counseling or mental health breaks or whatever, that could be a problem. So whatever our plan is, I appreciate it. I just want to make sure that we supporting those teachers based on them not having somebody and having some challenging behaviors.
Absolutely. And our Student Support Services Department, they currently push in with putting support from different buildings to ensure that they have the help that they need.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Ford, rescue me if I'm not following this report correctly. In looking at I'm looking at some of the middle school language arts and math allocations. For instance, at Central Middle, it says the 6th grade language arts allocation will be reduced and the current long-term substitute will be reclassified to a day-to-day substitute. My question is, particularly in the areas of math and language arts, because they are tested areas, is this plan serving to reduce the class sizes in those classes Because I don't understand what you're saying.
So we've looked at the class sizes, and we've noticed that the class sizes in many of those classes in particular are already reduced, where some classes may have 4 to 12 students in it. So reducing this class size will allow us to actually increase those sizes to the normal DESE standard, and also have those students who are currently being serviced by or currently being taught by a long-term substitute taught by a certified teacher without overloading those classes.
You had 4 to 12 students in an English language arts class?
We found some classes with smaller numbers, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And so this is our attempt to make sure that we're fiscally responsible across the district.
So you're saying bring them up to, are you saying by DESE standards, is that what, about 30?
27.
It's about 20, it depends on the grade level, but about 25 to 27. And some of these classes still won't be quite as large, but they'll be averaging about 22 to 24.
20 is a good number, when you're teaching kids to read and write. Okay, so I wouldn't say try to push it to the state
max.
requirement. If you could keep it somewhere around 2022, that would be.
Yes, ma'am. And that is
As an
something.
ELA teacher, that would be awesome.
And that's something that we have considered, as we said with the superintendent, and she reviewed this. That was her concern, making sure that it was still something in those tested areas that was reasonable and that we can really make the gains that we need to make.
Thank you.
In conjunction to the question that you're asking and your explanation, Mr. Ford, I want to make sure I'm understanding this. The narrative where it said Central Middle has low enrollment / attendance for several courses, parentheses, 1 to 13 students. So that means anywhere they could have a class that has only 1 student to 13 students for several courses. So currently, what are we doing for that class that has 1 student?
So this is our step to reduce those classes that have 1 student and make sure that we have classes that are at the class size that we really think are beneficial for our district. This was our time that the superintendent wanted us to look at all classes, not just ELA, not just mathematics, not science, and not just social studies, but all electives, looking at the music classes, looking at the computer classes. And as we looked across those classes, we did identify a few classes that not all day, but maybe one of the periods had really low numbers, 1, 3, 6 students. And so when we identified those, we looked for ways that we could increase the class size to a normal class size in all areas. And with that, we were able to reassign some of our long-term substitutes to day-to-day substitutes and increase the class sizes to a normal class size for our certified teachers.
Could this be the result, Superintendent, of students just not being in school?
No, when we pull the class names, looking at the students, no, it accounted for the students were assigned to those classes at those numbers. And it's ideal. I mean, I would, as a teacher, I would love to have 5 or 10 students in my class, right? However, from a financial perspective, we can't afford to have 5, 1, 3 students in a class. So what we've done, as Mr. Ford has said, is we've increased the classes. We've taken those 1 to 5, 10 students and put them in other classes. And then we've used that particular sub somewhere else that we've needed them. Maybe they become a day-to-day sub. We were also able to increase the certified teachers that were sitting in front of our students, which is what we really want in the end. So the attendance had nothing to do with it, Ms. Lane.
Okay.
Yes, in answer to your question, it had nothing to do with the attendance.
So no, okay, it
Right.
could be just somebody's taking Latin.
No, it's not like we had, 20 students to a class, but only 10 showed up every day.
Okay.
There were 10 enrolled in that class, only 10 enrolled.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess to piggyback on that, because I know what is happening, who supports the schools with master scheduling? How does that work?
So master scheduling is something that is done toward the beginning of the year. I know the student support services department supports them with that. They sit in, they look at the projections, and as they look at the projections, they start to build out that scheduling. We always, well, around the beginning of second quarter, we know where our projections were, but then what are our true numbers looking like now that we've come to the end of September. And so that's when we typically start making those changes. But because we were making some reductions in our schedule, we looked at other pieces that we can do so that we can make those changes, or most of those changes at one time. And so we do that each year. We look at the comparability and we make those adjustments. But as we looked at it this year, we found some outliers that we wanted to address.
And so where the changes with PE is there more than one PE teacher at that site? It is?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So in the cases where the PE changes are happening, there may be 3 PE teachers at that site.
Oh, wow.
And 1 PE teacher has a low caseload.
Okay, that's making sense now. And then I'm thinking with the conversation about the classroom size, because of the attendance, even if you had 27, it may not be on an average day 27 kids.
Yeah.
So when you do put more in there and the average is less, it still ends up equating to the same, scenario of it being a smaller classroom. But yeah, so I think maybe looking at the classes, because I can only have 10, but is this an important content for the kids to have, and maybe they need to be shifted into it versus my class being the one to close down and the class that maybe have the more students maintained. I think we need to really evaluate the course that is being offered and the value of it versus it just being because this person happened to have the lower number.
And I'll just add a little
Okay.
piece to that. That is something that we did. This wasn't done in isolation of just human resources. It wasn't done in isolation of just the superintendent. We did pull in student support services. We did pull in the assistant superintendent of leadership and accountability, who these leaders have helped to build the schedule in years past. So we looked at the importance of the courses, the need for the courses, the requirements for graduation, and we made those adjustments.
Okay.
We're recommending those adjustments.
I think somewhere along the line, there's been a hiccup in the master scheduling. And I know that master scheduling is tricky, and it's not a matter of taking a block of kids, moving that block, sticking them in a room. You have to really look at who's in the class, what are their needs. Do you have, if this is a group of students who are at basic, and then you have one kid over here who is advanced, and so you have to look at those factors as well, and you have to look at how many students. And I like the idea of making sure that you're putting as many students as you can in front of a certified teacher. And I spoke with Dr. Patton before about this. We need a group of experienced people who know how to write a master schedule. And we have those people here at Riverview, and if we could get them together so that, and it, let's do it the old-fashioned way with the board, and, whatever it takes, and writing the numbers on the board and in the little boxes or whatever it takes. But we've got to do a better job of scheduling, because we shouldn't be here in December going, oh, it's only 8 people in that class. Well, it's been only 8 people in that class since August, and we should have caught that.
In some cases, Dr. Coleman, let me say that, we roll our students over. So we roll them over from year to year.
Mm-hmm.
So it could have been that there were 18 students placed in that particular class, but 8 of them dropped after school started. So, right. So
I understand that
Right.
part. I also understand the danger of rolling students over, and you've got the same kids traveling next year and in the same group. I've had those classes. I've had those kids that have been together 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and they were volatile in 6th grade, and they were more volatile in 7th grade, and they were at their peak in the 8th grade. Break up, and teachers are screaming, why do you keep putting them together? Break them up. Let's do what's best for the students. You have to look at scheduling. You just can't move, well, we'll take these 27 kids, and this year they'll be in Dr. Coleman's class, and next year they'll be in somebody else's. We can't do that.
Okay, so let me chime in. When I said roll them over, I don't mean roll them over as a group.
Okay.
So I wasn't saying these 20 students travel together with every class. I meant that we roll them over from 6th to 7th grade, from 7th to 8th grade, and so on, but not rolled over as a group. I'm just saying that, for example, if there were 333 sixth grade students at Westview, we'll roll all of them over to 7th grade, not necessarily
Oh, we
traveling
understand that
together,
part,
right? So,
But that's something we need to look at in scheduling, that we're not always traveling together. Yeah, okay. Yes.
Mr. Ford, I have a question about the math, about the budget, the estimated cost reduction. So, day-to-day subs, I'm assuming the expenditure for salaries have already been included in the budget somewhere?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so my question is about normally, the math would look different if you reduce 10 long-term subs. The way we used to do it, it would be much more than 89,000,
And so
the
it prob-
savings.
So hopefully I'm answering your question. We did the math at semester. So the plan was to make the change starting the new semester. And so we calculated the salaries at 50%. We calculated the impact at 50% so that we can have a true estimate of what it would be if we make this change at semester, and how much would the cost be reduced if we make the change at semester, as opposed to looking at their total salary for the year.
Right, I see that. I think what I'm trying to say is, if it was by semester and you calculated at $22,770 per substitute, times 10 would be 227,700. But then you included the day-to-day, what it would look like per semester. But if you've already included that in the budget, normally it's not, you would put it back in this amount. Because it's really not showing the savings. If you reduce by 10 long-term subs, it should be more than 89,000.
So what we were trying to convey here is that at semester, that substitute would receive $22,770 for the year. For the rest of that semester. By those substitutes being reduced, or a long-term substitute being reduced to a day-to-day substitute, that substitute would only receive $13,860 for that semester, which would be an $8,910 savings per substitute per semester, from going from long-term to coming down to day-to-day. And so that calculation was based off on how much we would save per substitute per semester. The savings from going from a long-term substitute at the semester and finishing out the year to the estimated savings of them working 5 days a week, or you picking up classes as a day-to-day substitute, would be $8,910. And so the calculation was that, what would be the savings of them being at the reduced rate.
Okay, I see how you got there. It's just we used to do it a different way.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Now, I'm confused. So when you're talking about those long-term subs, are these not the same long-term subs that are retired teachers that are returning?
No.
Okay.
No, these are not those. These are not those substitutes. Those substitutes are permanent retired teachers.
Okay.
They're working as a teacher covering that class as a certified teacher.
thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Ford. Our next item up for discussion are Prop S exterior lighting upgrades. Making this presentation is Mr. Carl Scheid. He's our Executive Director of Facilities and Food Service, and this is in conjunction with Policy DJF to purchasing. Mr. Scheid.
Good evening, Board of Education, Dr. Patton, colleagues, community. Tonight I come before you with some information to discuss, which is a Prop S project. It's the exterior lighting upgrade, Part A. The reason why there's a Part A is because there will be a Part B coming at a later point. So ultimately, we have a lot of challenges with our exterior lighting. We have many antiquated fixtures that are not the most energy efficient, that require a lot of maintenance. And to be honest, we're lacking in terms of the quality of our lighting around our buildings. So that is what inspired us to move forward on this quest. So the intent is not only to just replace these fixtures with LED fixtures, we are also looking at existing lighting levels, adding lights. So again, by changing these out, we will reduce operating cost and energy consumption. We will ultimately reduce maintenance cost and upkeep. And then we will also enhance lighting, as an end result of this. And another component, which we'll get into when we get into the presentation, is right now we were actually relying on a lot of Ameren-provided lights at a lot of our school sites, which come at a cost. And through this process, we will be eliminating those Ameren lights and putting in our own lights, which will help us achieve an operational savings going forward. So how we approach this is ultimately we're utilizing the TIPS purchasing program. So TIPS is the interlocal purchasing system. Again, it's another purchasing co-op for school districts and other governmental entities to purchase services and installation of lighting equipment. So in this scenario, we have partnered with Voss Lighting, and Voss, along with some other contractors, are going to be working on Part A, which ultimately is going to address 16 buildings worth of exterior lighting. With me tonight, we have representatives of Voss Lighting and J. West Electric. I'm going to turn it over to them. They're going to provide a brief presentation, and then we can answer questions after that.
Fellow members of the board. Hi. Hello, Riverview Gardens. Dr. Patton. And I can't really say colleagues, but the community. My name is Caleb. I work with Voss Lighting. This is Tim, and this is Leon. We are lighting experts. So we've been called on by Mr. Scheit to design a comprehensive solution to the lighting needs at Riverview. So before I begin, I just wanted to say that this is not only a presentation, but it is something that is a bit of a learning experience. We are in a school after all. So any questions you may have, feel free to let me know, and I will answer it as we go along. Thank you. Without further ado, the Riverview Gardens School District Exterior Lighting Project. A little bit of an index introduction, our mission statement, problems that we've seen, the solutions we are presenting, the package, the cost, and then the timeline itself. A little bit about Voss. We've been doing business in lighting for 80 years. I, of course, have not been around that long. But the St. Louis branch has been doing a lot in terms of helping school districts in the area, and we're really excited to help you guys as well. Excuse me. We design and specify, so as Mr. Scheit was saying, it's a lot of design that goes into this, and we'll get into that during the presentation. We do turnkey projects, so using the TIPS program, we're going to basically, because it's already nationally bid and approved on a national level, we get to go through the design process and work one-on-one with Mr. Scheit. And of course, we do energy-based financing as well. I'd like to introduce Jay West. Leon, give him a little bit of, or he can give a little bit of information on J. West and what they do and what they're already doing for the district.
Well, pre-happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I hope everybody have a wonderful Thanksgiving and get your food in order and get it all cooked up and bring those family members over. I'm Leon Ortiz. I'm with J. West Electric, and some of the, I guess over the past 3 or 4 years, I've been working around in the district, and we've been trying to replace some of the lights in the school district. And I mean, if you look at, I think maybe I was getting phone calls from Zach, who is the athletic director, talking about some of the needs that they were having with being dark and people coming in, and some of the facility people coming in and having issues with people lingering around the building. The one really good thing about replacing your outside lighting is it just brings a bit of safety to your buildings. Not only that, normally the lighting that are there that's probably 20 or 30 years old, LED lights are like really bright and they really give you more of a daylight look, which is almost like an upgrade look to your building and facilities. I'm just a proponent because I work in a lot of school districts. It's amazing what good lighting does for the education of kids. If you just think about this, I don't know where everybody works, but if you work in a dark office, it's amazing how the attitudes of people are really bad. And then when you brighten it up and you bring sunshine in, it's amazing how attitudes become better and people are better to work with. Well, I believe that works with kids. Kids come to school if it's dark, if they're coming to school and there's not enough light. I think that attitude that comes in and wanting to learn is different. I heard earlier somebody was speaking on how, especially when it comes to young black kids, the importance of education. And like I said, I work in Parkway school districts, and you walk through the schools and they're super bright, they're all lit up, and kids are happier. I believe this is something that you guys are doing that's really good for the kids, having them drive by the schools and see their schools lit up, and just gives them a little inspiration on that that's my school and learning is important. So I don't want to take up any more time. I don't want anybody mad at me about things not coming out, working out Thursday, but thank you for your time, and I appreciate it.
Well said. All right, and he's right. It is a learning environment that kids can be proud of when it's bright and when it feels safe. Not only that, but lighting also opens the doors to activities in the evening. So a big thing with attendance is making sure that there's fun things that kids can do, and some of that is extracurricular and afterwards, or after school. So moving on to just wanted to mention that we plan to partner with Jay West for 40% of the project labor total, and this includes phase 2. And just a little introduction to phase 1, phase 2, as Mr. Scheit said. Phase 2 is going to be more of the high school. We found some of the bigger issues at the high school with electrical and lighting and all that. And so we, in order to properly go through the design of all of that, we decided to push it off in order to do our due diligence. But the 16 schools we're addressing now, we'll continue it. This is Berta Electric. We use Berta all the time, and it's they have come through in many ways for us and have been a go-to for a very long time in St. Louis. We're also using Electric Design and Services. So it's a woman-owned company, and they also have been a rock to turn to in times where we really need to get projects this size done. And that's really why we're pulling in 3 contractors for this. You guys do have a big district, and we're hoping to swiftly move through the lighting. Project mission statement, brightening every scholar's future, one light at a time. As you can see, there are lighting problems, and you've seen this at the locations that you've had board meetings at and where you've been a principal and whatnot. Pay attention to the high school in the top right-hand corner. That's a real picture that I took when assessing the grounds in the evening. And it's just unsafe in terms of, you need it bright to be functioning as a school. And of course, there are some other wear and tear and just old fixtures throughout the district. Budget issues. So old lighting can be expensive. We have people coming out and replacing the old lighting. There's that cost. There's also the cost of lights that go out. Like Leon was mentioning, some of these things are pre-existing, and they're energy problems and electrical problems. So you can put a fixture up, 6 months later, you come back, the fixture's burnt out. And so that's something we're addressing. We're addressing the whole issue, not just putting a Band-Aid on it. Looking at this graph, so at the highest point you have an elimination of maintenance cost. So really you're going to be positively affecting your budget, your operating budget, by using bond money on this project. So putting money back into the operating budget, of course, you know, is very helpful. Thank you. And then, like Mr. Scheid said, the Ameren system. So currently there's Ameren poles throughout the whole district. And one of the opportunities that we're taking advantage of is replacing that with Riverview poles. So the Ameren poles, they're on a subscription, and that is operating budget, you know, attacking the operating budget. You know, it's just coming out. You know how subscriptions are. I still have, you know, they just go up all the time, and you can't keep track of them. But I think of Netflix when I think of that. Just, you know, it's just sitting in the background taking my money away. And then finally the LED upgrade. Now, why that isn't more, why we aren't seeing like a dramatic reduction in power from the lights is because we are dramatically increasing the safety. So when we put in more lights, of course, it draws more power. And so we're not seeing a huge reduction in power. But as it shows there, there's really no cost you can put on the safety of our scholars. Our solution, fixing the exterior power infrastructure, like I said, not just putting a Band-Aid on it. The new long-lasting LEDs, I mean, some of these LEDs we're putting on will last 10, 15 years. So it's really a turnkey solution that's going to last for hopefully the next generation. New lighting layouts, that's putting light where we need it. Long hours. Mr. Scheid and I sat down and said, hey, you know, there's lighting here, there's not lighting over here, we need to make sure that that's much brighter for the students and for people going back and forth. And then removing existing Ameren system, as I explained. So with the current infrastructure, as you can see on the far left, there are lights that are on during the day. In the middle, you have lights entrances that are completely dark, and that's scary. And then on the right, you have rusting product that's already up there that needs to be replaced. The solution for new long-lasting LEDs. On the right, you can see what the new poles will look like. So like was mentioned before, they're super bright. The second feature is really, really cool in my opinion. We're installing sensors on each one of these pole lights that they operate at 50% capacity, and then when someone enters the property, they pop up to 100% capacity. So it's not only a deterrent for someone who's there for no good, but it's also a way for security cameras to see, hey, there is someone over here, and they can focus their attention that direction. And then light shields. We're very conscientious about our neighbors, and we don't want them to have big lights being shined into their streets and their yards and into their windows. So we're very conscientious about that, and we have designed it in a way that there would be no light shining into neighborhoods. Last point is the possible 5G node. Now this is something that we can look at later, but I just wanted to mention it. We can have it so that we can put a node on top of these lights so that they talk to each other. They can let you know when one of them's burnt out. They can send a notification to maintenance. We can even go as far as making it an opportunity to make money. T-Mobile will give money for there to be 5G nodes throughout a neighborhood or throughout a city. So there's lots of different ways, and lighting has improved a lot in the last 10 years. But if there's any questions on that, feel free to mention it. Besides better optics and overall coverage, why new poles? So the district currently has Ameren poles, like I mentioned, but what does that look like? Why aren't we just saying, Ameren, upgrade your poles? Well, their upgraded poles to get the amount of coverage that we're looking for would bring them up to $72 per month per fixture, and there's 85 lights throughout the district. So you're looking at annually, that's coming out of the operating budget, $73,000, and then including inflation, it goes up to over 800, and then almost 18 or 1.8 million over 20 years, and that's just not something we want to spend. We want to take or in our operating budget, of course, we want to take the time now, do it right, and convert over to Riverview Garden poles. Also, just an added upgrade, Riverview Gardens being patriotic, we wanted to make sure that the flags were also lit at each one of the schools. It was really good to see as I was going through each of these schools, each one of them has a flag. And so at the beginning we did the Pledge of Allegiance. I think that's just another way to have that spirit with the kids and having that flag up. New lighting layouts. I made sure that this one was up because I know that the central office is very important. And I don't have a before up here, but this is the after. The little blue outline is not where the light stops, that's just where the light is focused the most. As you can see, there are 2 poles going up near both entrances, and so you're really going to see a dramatic increase in light. And this is going to be the same thing throughout all the schools. Anyone can guess what school this is? Westview, yeah, there you go. So Westview, of course, has a beautiful campus, and the lighting there is ideal, or it will be ideal once we're done with it. You can see there's really no points where there's going to be not enough light for the students. And then this is the high school. In phase 2, we will, of course, revisit this, but it just gives another example of all the time that was put into this. And there's the fitness court with its new light. Now, when I see this is a lot of information, and to me this means hours and days and weeks of design that was put into this, visiting each of the schools, talking to the security guard, saying, hey, what are you doing? Like, I'm doing lighting, and going through the design process, and it has. It's been the long days and long nights working on this, but to you, what this is a savings of over $100,000. So. Normally, we would have, or a school district would have to go through the process of hiring an engineering firm to do this design, and then a lighting company would come and do the installation. Now, in our case, because we do everything in-house, all of this design was done in-house, and it's a part of the bid. So, the design is, I believe it's 5% of what you would be paying an engineering firm. So we really did our due diligence and wanted to make sure we did it right. However, you're saving a lot by not going with an engineering firm. Ameren, they will be removing the existing system. That's in phase 2. Finally, the solution. So diagnosing and removing the failed infrastructure, increasing the light levels and safety, bringing the expense money back into the budget, and finally a 5-year warranty on lighting. That's if anything happens in the next 5 years, we'll totally take care of it and get it replaced. That's how much we believe in it. Phase 1, as you can see, nearing $1.2 million, and then phase 2, of course, is to be determined. We're still in the process of that. Timeline. So if approved on December 10th, we'd be looking at a January deployment date for phase 1, and then phase 2 in March, assuming that is approved as well. And then wrapping up hopefully by July, and then if, say there's some stragglers and some schools we had some issues with, August would be kind of our cutoff. Any questions?
Super. President. Please. Several.
Okay, that's what I'm here for.
Okay, Mr. Scheit, as I was reading this presentation, the first question I have is, have you approached, I agree with the whole lighting. I don't think we have to sell that idea. Okay, we all know it's bad. But what has Ameren introduced to help us with this situation in terms of grants, all the other things that we know that a public utility company should do with a not-for-profit organization like a school district? Or has there been any conversation with them?
So we did explore that. We wanted to find out, are there rebates, are there grants, are there incentives? And the answer is they are not offering anything on exterior lighting. They did obviously offer it on interior lighting, which we did partake in the last year when we upgraded to our LED on the interior of our buildings. They're not incentivizing exterior lighting. Right now, their focus tends to be on heating and cooling projects more so than anything else. That is where they're funneling most of their rebates and incentives, because ultimately Ameren's focus is to try to reduce consumption during peak hours. That's their primary goal right now. And in order to reduce that consumption, the biggest energy hogs out there ultimately would be heating and cooling systems. And, exterior lighting in particular happens during off-peak time, so it's not actually creating a burden on the infrastructure of Ameren. So that's why they are not really incentivizing as it relates to lighting projects. So we did explore that, and
But we're still going to be paying Ameren.
we will, yes, because they're providing our electricity, so
There's
we're
still-
absolutely paying.
There's not another electric company.
Correct.
Because when you say in Ameren, a Voss, you said Riverview Garden lights versus, or Riverview Garden poles versus Ameren poles, does that means we own the poles?
Correct, yeah.
But Ameren is still going to, will be providing the electricity, so,
Yes, so there's currently 85 pole lights that we ultimately, at some point, solicited to Ameren, hey, we would like a light fixture on a pole over here. They installed it, and then we're on a subscription. Basically, we pay a flat amount every month in perpetuity as long as that light is still there and it's still shining. And that cost, obviously, they are making a profit off of that. You know, they did have to provide the light and put the infrastructure in to put it up long ago, but ultimately, that is something that they have been profiting on. By us converting those lights to our own poles, we are ultimately upgrading the light fixture, and at the same time, we're not going to be spending that directly to Ameren to actually rent that pole and fixture in perpetuity like we have been. So that's where we're going to have the reduction in operating costs, because we would be eliminating that expense. Yes, we will still be consuming electricity.
right.
That point can't be avoided. But, you know, we have to use the electricity to have the light, but
Are they going to charge us to remove these poles?
that is part of the project, and that is phase 2 is the fact that we have to remove the poles. So yes.
Thank you, President.
So the life of the LED lights, how long do they last?
So you should be able to expect between 10 to 15 years for a light, especially after we go in and change the infrastructure to where the current power, the current wiring is correct and not depleting them prematurely. You should be, well into 10 to 15 years for these.
So 15-year come, what would have to happen to that pole? Like, is it
Yes.
just the technology upgraded, the pole not being removed, or what? Because I know that Tesla gonna have something out for schools soon, so I'm just trying to figure it out.
Very good, and that's a good question. So with all this infrastructure, most of what this cost is getting those poles in place and the infrastructure upgrade. The lighting itself, 15 years from now, you could be expecting maybe 10% of what you're looking at now, maybe less, because all we're doing is we're going up and we're replacing the head. And so now that the pole is up, I mean, the head is pretty inexpensive. And that could be something that maintenance does too.
Okay, I guess the question for Mr. Scheit, so right now with the current poles from Ameren, what do they do as far as upgrades, and how does that normally impact the subscription or what they charge us?
Okay, so right now, we get what they have provided. If we would want them to upgrade, we would actually have to increase our costs. So if we wanted them to put a more energy efficient or a larger or a brighter fixture on those poles, then we would ultimately be increasing our expenses of that subscription cost in order to do that.
So they were doing the repairs when
So
we-
they do repairs. So right
Okay.
now, if there's an Ameren pole that has a light out, we simply will get the ID tag off of that pole, we'll call Ameren, and then they will send a technician out to repair and or replace that light fixture as needed.
And then they'll bill us for it?
They
That's
won't,
how
they'll just continue to bill us the monthly subscription rate that we're paying.
Oh, okay, but nothing additional for the repairs?
Right. Now, if we were to solicit them and say, we want you to upgrade our lighting on these poles, we would be looking at a higher cost per month, because they're ultimately going to pass on that expense to us to, you know, for the equipment, the labor, and all that goes into upgrading that pole, so, that pole fixture.
Okay, I saw Bluetooth on there, on the screen. What is that related to?
Yes, ma'am. So Bluetooth is basically, you can have these fixtures talk to each other. So for instance, if you wanted, instead of having one turn on whenever it notices someone enter, you could have them all turn on. And so they're in constant communication. They can also be linked together. So dimming and all that, they can all, you know, talk to each other, if you will. Does that answer your question?
Yes, and what capacity do they have to integrate any surveillance?
Surveillance, yes. So very easy in terms of the poles itself. Having a pole, your own pole on your lot is such an upgrade because you have that real estate. Now you can put, with the power already there, you can put lights in new areas, lights in new areas. You can put cameras in new areas that you didn't, or you didn't have before. And you can put even adjusting for traffic. You can have nodes up there that will say, hey, you know, I have this many people coming through, and it all gets very techy very quick. But with that new real estate that you're putting in these new poles comes lots of opportunity.
Okay, thank you.
So one of the suggestions that normally what they do is that so the parking lot is in place right now. We wouldn't dig up the parking lot. They do what they call boring, which basically take a machine that bores underground and it drags the pipe underground. I would suggest that you guys don't do them to all the poles, but take another one inch conduit out there for a piece of fiber to be pulled out down the road where you can add more cameras. And then you would have your power there for the light, and then you would also have a empty conduit for down the road for adding more cameras on the parking lot. So that's what you could do with that, along with that, to, you know, kind of get your money's worth for going out there. And hey, I want to just think one more thing in. We work in East St. Louis school districts. We work in every school district that we work in. I offer this, and these are the people that mention this too. We do a career fair that's fantastic to let these kids know about the skilled trades. People are driving into our communities and making over $100,000, and they're driving out of 2 counties to leave our communities and taking the money out of our communities. This is an opportunity for me to come in and tell the kids who maybe don't want to go to college that these opportunities exist, and to do my very best to try to walk them through the process and get them closer to the finish line of getting in these trades. And that's everything: carpentry, electrically, HVAC. And you guys doing what you're doing with this is an opportunity for me to go to the unions and say, hey, look, they're doing their part. It's time for you guys to do your part and let some of these kids in these programs. So I just wanted to get that out. I'm sorry, but
Can you talk to that young lady that are 3 people down from you? Okay.
Last question, project management. Who from our end will be managing, make sure everything is,
So I will be overseeing this project myself, working in conjunction with Voss and Jay West and all contractors involved.
all right, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Mara Real, did you have a question? We can't hear you. You're muted. Did you have a question, Ms. Mara Real?
Jay
I
West.
have heard about their group. I think this would be wonderful for us. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Any
Thank
other
you.
questions? Thank Thank you so
Madam
much.
President, this concludes our items for discussion.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Now we're ready to move into our items for action.
Madam Chair, for the items for action, I would like to, I guess, get an amount that's needed for the HVAC increase that you mentioned. What was the amount?
The amount was $100,000 for three HVAC and 2 plumbers. That would save us just so everybody knows, we spent $1.1 million on plumbing and HVAC services during the last school year. If we could hire our own HVAC and plumbers, we could reduce that cost by $600,000. So I have spoken to the board about increasing the salary for those positions.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to add the HVAC plumber budget increase of $100,000 to the items of action.
Now, is she stating that correctly? Because she said $100,000 budget increase, and I was understanding it as being per person.
Per person.
Okay, so $100,000 salary increase for each of those positions, HVAC and plumbing.
Okay. Salaries to,
And let me say, it's not a salary increase.
Right, not a salary.
So it is $100,000 per position. It's not a.
position.
Yes.
Okay.
to $100,000 per position for 2 HVAC and 3 plumbers. 3 HVAC and 2 plumbers? Yeah. Total 500,000.
Okay.
Okay.
So $500,000 allocation for 3 HVAC and 2 plumber positions.
And let me say to everybody, because I'm looking at the eyes that I'm looking at in the room, let me say this. We have had these positions posted for the last 2.5 years at $80,000 apiece. We have our 19, 20-year-olds graduating from trade school with HVAC and plumbing, making 6 figures off the top. So we will never get anybody at $80,000. If I'm 19 or 20 and I can go make $100,000, that's where I'm going. So I just want everybody to understand why I've requested this from the board. I also want you to understand that, as I stated last year, we spent $1.1 million on HVAC and plumbing using 2 organizations. We could still cut our cost in half by hiring our own HVAC and plumber. So, thank you.
And I'd like to say I was in conversations with some people that I know who are HVAC, and they kind of chuckled when I told them we had it. I think at that time we had it listed for like 72,000. And they said, yeah, and they kept walking. Good luck with that. Yeah, that was what I got from them. Good luck with that. So we have to.
We need a second. We need a second.
Okay. We have to pay the money if we're going to save such a large amount of money. This is a small thing. We do need a second. You have a question?
Excuse me, Madam Chair, that item is not on the agenda for this particular meeting.
So
With
I
all
was
due
amended.
respect, if Dr. Patton could bring that back at the next meeting, because we want to avoid any consequence with Sunshine Law.
So
as
I
it
was
not-
making a motion to amend the agenda to add it. That would be proper.
I understand, but it
Uh-huh.
was not a recommendation that was made at this meeting in open session.
So what are you saying? 'Cause-
That Dr. Patton
Uh-huh.
can bring it back at the next meeting if the
Okay,
board so
so I will-
approve for discussion and action.
Okay, so the motion is for the item to be brought back on the December meeting as a consent agenda item.
All right, motion to bring the salary for HVAC and plumbing back at the December 10th meeting.
Just to the meeting,
To
not
bring that
back to the meeting.
To bring it to the
Just
meeting.
bring it to
for
the meeting.
December 10th. Can I get a second? Second. It's been moved by Elliott and second by Ms. Titsworth, to bring the item of the HVAC and plumbing salaries to the December 10th meeting.
Madam Chair, I would like to amend the motion or get clarification.
Okay.
Because normally, you would bring a presentation to make an adjustment. I'm not saying we don't need it, but normally you would bring information. You would have a budget impact. You would show salary comparisons for similar positions. You wouldn't just say we're going to increase something by, so I just want to make sure that, I'm not sure how the motion should go, but that it will come with a presentation.
So I would say that it can be an item for discussion and the item for action, if that's the more appropriate
That is.
approach to
That
it.
it will come with the presentation, yes.
Yes,
to the
so
board.
I would like to amend the motion to add that we specifically have this item as an item of action and an item of discussion.
With a presentation.
Item for
Then it's
discussion.
understood that it's a presentation.
Okay,
We need a
the
second
motion
on
has been amended to bring the item of the HVAC and plumbing salaries as an item for discussion and an item for action at the December 10th meeting.
Are we still at the question part?
Is there, well, before, yeah, questions, Ms. Lang?
Okay, so,
Oh, we didn't get a second on
Oh.
that amendment.
I thought you were the second.
No, I was the
So,
maker.
Ms.
Titsworth seconded.
Well, Ms. Titsworth was the second for the first one. Now, for the amendment, so, let me say this, Ms. Williams has motioned that we bring the item back.
No, I did.
No, she amended it.
I did. Don't get confused, that's
Okay.
right.
Yes, you are confusing me. So, Dr. Avant Elliott has motioned that we bring the item to the December 10th meeting as an item for discussion and an item for action. Can I get a second?
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
And now. I'll second.
Thank you. It's been seconded by Ms. Morrell.
I
Now,
would like to amend the motion
okay.
to have it as an item for discussion at the next board meeting.
That is the next.
No, you said discussion and action.
Yes.
So I think,
That's what the motion was.
right,
I said discussion and action, so you're saying you don't want it as an item for action?
right, just as discussion, so we can have time to digest the information.
All right.
So she
She wants it as an item of discussion.
So she's striking,
Yes.
if I can help, she's striking the action part in the amendment, so we have to get a second on that. If that fails, then we go back to mine.
Right.
So that's the process.
Okay, so now,
You need a second on hers.
a
I'll second.
on the-
I'll second.
Okay, Ms. Lang. Thank you, Ms. Lane. So it's been seconded by Ms. Lane to, it's been motioned by, is it with Monica now? Motion by Ms. Williams and second by Ms. Lane to bring the item of the salary for HVAC and plumbing to the December 10th meeting for discussion. All in favor?
Can you do a roll call, please?
Okay.
Well, you didn't ask for a question.
Do you have any questions then?
So my question is, we're not going to be specific with a dollar amount if we're doing a presentation, because what if through the investigation salary comparison thing, it's different than 100,000. So therefore, it's just the discussion.
Well, I'm thinking that the 100,000 is based on what we have the budget for. So regardless if it is maybe a higher amount, this is what we can afford as well.
I just said a different amount. I didn't say higher amount. I just said
Oh, you like
it's
lower.
a different amount.
Yeah. Okay, So, Dr. Patton, I know that you had done some research into those salaries.
Yes, we've done some research into the salaries, and so what we, after contacting some of our trade schools in the area, they are graduating with a starting salary of $100,000 at least. So if we want to be competitive, we at least have to raise our salary to that. Now, we are a small school district, so I am not willing to pay. You know, I'm not going to get into a bidding war, but if we want to be competitive, we do have to raise the salary. So for the December 12th meeting, I will bring a presentation with salary ranges as well as information from trade school and other areas, districts who already have these positions, so that we can move forward.
Okay, so we're not going to state a specific salary to bring that information. Are there any other questions?
Yes, I guess my question is for Monica. Are you thinking that based on that presentation, we wouldn't be ready to do the item for action? What was your thinking with that?
So I don't have any problem with competitive salaries. What we can afford is the process that you would normally take to bring that type of request to the board. So for me, it's the process.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? Shay, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Can you restate what they?
The motion is to bring the item for discussion for HVAC and plumbing services and salaries to the December 10th meeting for discussion.
I'll start with Ms. Morrill.
Yes.
Ms. Tisworth,
Yes.
Ms. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Lane,
Yes.
Dr. Coleman,
Yes.
Dr. Von Elliott.
Yes.
Thank you. We have the 24. Oh, the title grant acceptance for the 24, that was Ms. Curtis's presentation. The title grant acceptance for the 24-25 school year.
So moved.
Motion to approve has been motioned by Dr. Von Elliott. Can I get a second?
Second.
And second by Ms. Williams. Are there any questions? Roll call vote, please, Shay. For the title grant acceptance.
Okay. Ms. Tisworth? Dr. Von Elliott?
Yes.
Ms. Morrill?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Lane?
Yes.
Dr. Coleman?
Yes.
Here we go, thank you.
Are we ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Tonight's presentation will be the State of the District for Riverview Gardens for the date of November 26, 2024. These are just some pictures of events throughout our district, and then this is our why. As I stated earlier, I believe that education is a civil rights issue, and we have got to improve the education of our own students as well as students across the country, so that we can educate them better in order to provide them with an opportunity. This is our mission and our vision. We collaboratively educate and empower our scholars to thrive in challenging environments. And then you can read our vision. I'll just highlight some of them. There are high expectations for all that students, teachers, central services, supports are provided for students to become grade level ready. There is a focus on college and career readiness, and all of our stakeholders have a voice. Where are we now? This gives an overview of where we are now from a staffing and workforce perspective. We have 382 certified teacher allocations, 88 certified teacher vacancies, 98 long-term subs in place. All classrooms are covered, and as everyone knows, we brought in approximately 50 international teachers. When you look at our non-certified, we have 454 non-certified staff allocations and 32 non-certified vacancies. In terms of our celebration and our challenges, our student performance is low, but it's improving. I do want to make that known. When you look at our APR, which Dr. Hunter will present, you will see that we are improving, but we've got work to do, and we're going to continue that work. We are provisionally accredited, but we have sustained it through this 2024 round of APR scores. We are working on building sustainability plans with Solution Tree. Solution Tree, we're in our final year. It is important that Riverview Gardens can stand on its own once Solution Tree walks away. And so we are working on a sustainability plan with them. I do want to highlight some of our celebrations. Moline Elementary, Miss Amber White is to my right. Her school was recognized as a promising practices school, so I do want to recognize that. Our facilities conditions, as you can tell, Mr. Scheid has been very busy with our district since he walked into our district maybe a year and a half or so ago. Our facilities are improving. We have got to reduce our budget. That is a requirement if we are to maintain a healthy fund balance. What are some of the challenges? We have little to no economic development in our area, which gives us financial constraints, but we are working to do something about that, and of course, you know, the community violence. I'm going to invite Dr. Tiffany Hunter, she's the Executive Director of Data and Assessments, up to go over our APR.
Thank you, Dr. Patton, and good evening, board members. Good evening to our colleagues and community. So what you're looking at on the screen here is a 3-year snapshot. Over the last 3 years, our APR as a district, and it tells a story. It tells a story of growth. And so when you look at, we earned 128.5 points in our 2024 APR, which is a 10.6 point increase from 2023 and a 16.1 point increase in 2022. And so this puts us in the range of 64.2% of points earned. And so it's not where we want to be, but as you can see, it's growth. And it's something that I want to kind of highlight is that, as you can see, in 2022, total points earned started at 180. And each year, the target has been moving. But Riverview Gardens continues to show growth. And so that's something to celebrate. 64.2%, it's not where we want to be, but we are getting closer and closer to the target. And so that's just something we should celebrate. And this is a lot of information on the screen, and so I'm going to do my best to kind of sum it all up for you all, basically. But the 2024 APR points focuses on 2 things. It focuses on performance and continuous improvement. This first part of the report you see focuses on just performance. And DESE looks at 2 things. It looks at academic achievement in the form of status and in the form of growth. They also look at all students versus student groups. And so all students is what it says. It's all of our students. Our student groups are pretty similar here in Riverview Gardens, but the student groups looks at students with disabilities, ELL students, free and reduced lunch, and then African American students. So in the last column on the right, you'll see designations. This is based on MPI, MPI composite score, which is the column over. And so each designation equates to a number of points the district can receive. So for example, you will see that we had approaching for ELA. That MPI designation point will get us like 6 points. And so there's a long range of lists. I'm just giving you an example, but that's kind of how the APR points are calculated. So each student gets an MPI composite score, and it's calculated based on the scores that our scholars get on MAP and ELC. So their skill score, it falls in between a range of MPI, and then they calculate the MPI, and that's how to get the big number, basically. So what you can see here is that we see growth in every area when comparing our academic achievement status MPI totals from 2023 to 2024. So in 2023, our MPI and ELA was 317 and 3/10, and this year we earned an MPI of 320 and 7/10. That is a 3 4/10 composite score increase. In 2023, our MPI in science was 290 6/10. And this year, we earned an MPI of 291 9/10. This is a 1 3/10 composite score increase. In 2023, our MPI in social studies was 340 3/10. This year, we would have earned an MPI of 343 8/10, which is a 3 5/10 composite score increase. And this is the big celebration. I was excited about this. In 2023, our MPI in math was 253 3/10, and this year we earned an MPI of 263 8/10. This is a 10.5 composite score increase. That's a great increase in math, knowing that years ago we were struggling in math. And so to see that our students, we're still on the floor, yes, but we're getting closer and closer to the approaching. So that's just something to celebrate, that we're showing growth in all those areas. And I'll pause for the applause because we should pat ourselves on the back. So in academic achievement growth, we are either on target or on track in every content area. And so what they look at for growth, they actually take students. So for instance, if I'm a student in 3rd grade, in 2023, they looked at my skill score. Then in 2024, I'm now a 4th grader, if that makes sense. So, yep, 2023. Then 2024, I'm a 4th grader. They wanted to see if I show growth. So they're basically comparing the same students or the same student to see if they have shown growth. And so it shows that we're on track or on target for our growth. And so our babies are growing. So the evidence is there that our babies are growing. So on the APR report, you'll see that we have participation for social studies. So this means we did not meet the threshold of testing at least 95% of our scholars. We have to test 95% of our scholars in order for us to get the points. That means that points were left on the table because we didn't meet 95%. And so I can speak for myself, I can speak for the team because we've had conversations. That can't happen. We need our babies to come to school. We need them to be tested so that we can meet that 95% threshold, and we could have gotten a few more points with that social studies and even biology and science. And so we need the babies to come to school so that we can make sure we have 95% of our scholars tested and we get those points. You see in CCR, the CCR assessments, we're still on the floor, but Mrs. Nave is going to speak towards some of the strategies that we're employing to make sure that we get points in that area as well, and she'll be coming up soon to talk to you about that. This next slide talks about continuous improvement, and continuous improvement refers to the district's continuous efforts to improve and support student growth and development in the district. So on this page, you can see that we earned all our points in every area except for 2. The KEA, which stands for Kindergarten Entry Assessment. The appropriate assessment was not administered in this school year, and that is why we did not get our points. But what I can tell you is that this year is already taken care of. We've trained our kindergarten teachers in the KOF, which is the Kindergarten Observation Tool. They've been trained, they've already assessed our scholars, the paperwork's already been submitted to DESE. This part is taken care of for 2024. You will also see attendance, and it's kind of been the common theme throughout this board meeting tonight. It's critical. We're still struggling with attendance. We need them here so we can test them, but we also need them here, as our superintendent said, so that we can teach them. And so Ms. Nave will also speak towards what we're doing to kind of really dive into that attendance so we can get our babies here. This report also shows that we have a district improvement plan on file. We've submitted our response to standards, which basically tells our story in our own words, and we have also sent out the climate and culture survey, which is a good plug to let you know that communications has that on our website. And so if you all will go and take our climate and culture survey, that is a part of our APR. At the bottom of the page, you see the participation rates for all of our assessments. And like I told you, we have to have 95% of our scholars tested in order for us to get the points. So now what? How are we going to increase our APR points? We did good, that's great, but now what? So really focusing on that participation piece, we're going to be very intentional. This year we did go with a district-wide assessment calendar. It really gives specific dates for our MAP testing. In previous years, it may have been a little too open. And so we've kind of really narrowed it down so that testing has to occur on certain weeks, and that's listed in our assessment calendar, which we approved earlier this school year. And then we're also going to be diligent with tracking our MAP test completion. And so if we got to find kids, we're going to find them, because we've got to make sure we have 95%. And there is a way to track them, and so we will make sure that we're diligently tracking that. As I told you, we've already completed the KEA. That part is taken care of. Those 4 points are secured. And we will continue to work with CNI, the Executive Director of Continuous Improvement, Leadership and Accountability, as well as our MTSS coordinator to improve Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 instruction in all of our assessed areas. We came to you all and talked about branching minds, and so really using that tool to really make sure that we're doing what we need to do so that we can increase the academic achievement of our scholars. And we're also implementing a tiered system of support for attendance, and Ms. Nave is going to go in detail about what that looks like. And so that concludes my part of the presentation. And I think
So I thought it was very important that we developed an assessment plan. So rather than having schools decide when they're going to take the assessment, the way we needed to, as Dr. Hunter said, we needed to narrow that, and we needed to give them a window of time. So the expectation has changed for when we are given assessments, because we can, some of those points are easy points. And if all we have to do is identify the kindergarten assessment, if all we have to do is make sure that 95% of our students are tested, those are areas we can control, and so we will start to control them. The areas that may not be able to be controlled may be the academics and the attendance. But the areas that we can control as a district, we will control as a district so that we can get those points. In front of you, you will see our comprehensive school improvement plan one-pager. It has been updated to reflect the 24-25 school year. And as it says on the bottom, we've got work to do. And so everybody is working to get things done. Looking at our student performance, Dr. Hunter just went over a lot of this, but we are going to be increasing it. We've got a goal in science, math, and ELA to increase in 10, 15, and 10% respectively by the end of the 2026 school year, and we will continue to work on that goal. Addressing some student performances. So we have tiered instruction within all of our buildings. The Tier 1 instruction is things that everybody gets across the district. Every student in a building will get. So we are strengthening instruction by working in the PLC model to develop unit plans for ELA, math, biology, and government. Those are our tested areas. We are working with the instructional leaders to complete the data dives so that they can make instructional decisions within their building. We are building a district-wide intervention. So if you look at many of our elementary schools, middle schools, you will see there is a concentrated time for building-wide interventions, because we have just got to hit all of our students with phonemic awareness, numeracy, reading, just to help them improve. When you look at Tier 2 and Tier 3, we're working with reading specialists and instructional coaches who are working with students and teachers to improve instruction in the classroom. We have the I-Care team, interventions, coordination, assessment, response, early education, and that's a team of people that come together to support the struggles of one student. So you've got people at the table looking at this student is struggling in math, this student is struggling in reading, this student may have social emotional concerns. What can we do to support them? And then again, building-wide interventions that are focused on the areas that our students are weak in. And then we are using UFly, which is a resource at the K2 level to improve reading. We will begin using UFly. I'm going to invite Ms. Nave up to talk about our attendance goals and where we are.
Thank you. Good evening, Board of Education, colleagues, and community. This evening already, we've had so many conversations about attendance and its importance, and it remains one of the most important items on this list, because we have to have our students in attendance. As I stated at the last board meeting, we talked about attendance and how it's tracked through DESE. DESE mandates that 90% of our students are attending school at least 90% of the time in order to meet the standards. And each student's attendance is calculated by using the hours of absence method. And last time when I was speaking, I talked about the fact that we were reiterating to parents that just as they have sick days, our students have sick days, and we have 17 sick days for our students that they can use, which are approximately 10% of the school year for our students. But I also want to impress upon you that hours of absence, that means when they're late to school to arrive, or if a parent comes early to pick up a child for an appointment, or they just need to go pick everyone else early so that they can get to work or anything like that, that is also a detriment to our attendance. So we want to make sure that our families are placing those appointments that they have for the dentist or doctor's offices on those days that we have off, or after school, making sure that we're having them to understand the importance of not coming to pick up a student an hour early, 2 hours early every day, because that truly does impact our attendance as well. When we worked through our CSIP goals, we looked at the proportional attendance. And again, for our community, I want you to know our proportional attendance, when you see these numbers, it's the percentage of students who are coming 90% of the time. And so when you look at these numbers where it says 54% in 2024, 65%, and then 78%, that does not mean that only 54% of the students are coming, or we are wanting 54% of the students to come daily. That means at 54%, we're trying to increase to 54% coming 90% of the time. And so these are the goals that were set. And I want to just point out that we may need to revisit these goals. While they are showing an increase for us at approximately a 20% increase each year, we don't earn points, or we don't even meet the status until we earn 80% or higher. And that would put us in approaching, which would net us 2 points. So we've got to set our sights on getting to that range of 80% or higher. I also kind of want to even speak to my colleagues. When we're looking at attendance, it's also up to us to make sure that we are coding it correctly. If there is a bus or cab delay, there are codes that we can use for that bus or cab delay that won't go against that student. If you are a principal, counselor, social worker, nurse, any staff member who is having that child in your office for a meeting, a care team, or anything like that where they're missing class, it is your responsibility, it is our responsibility to mark D for detained in office, so that teacher doesn't mark them absent, and now we have another singular absence that has gone undetected. So this is a job for all of us, and I want to make sure that we're all putting in the work to get this done. Our attendance secretaries, we need you to go through every day and look at those singular absences and find out where those students are. Our home to school coordinators, they're going out to the buildings, but anything that we can do data-wise, we need to make sure that we're doing it each day. Now again, this shows here our proportional attendance, and again, DESE mandates that 90% of students must attend at least 90% of the time in order to meet standards. And this graphic here shows you that until you get to 80%, we won't see any growth as far as any points possible for our APR. Our quarter 1 district proportional attendance rate, which is our quarter 1 90-90, is 60.58%. Compared to 2024 end of year proportional rate, which Dr. Hunter just presented, was 49.5. So are we showing some growth? Yes, but we've got to keep going. We can't stop here. Again, looking at that chart, you see if we get 80 to 84.9, we'll get to approaching and earn 2 points. Then it goes to on track, and then we won't see the full points until we get to 90 or above. In order to address attendance, there are several tiers that we are addressing. Tier 1, we're ensuring that our policies, procedures, and alignment of practices district-wide related to attendance reporting are all going on, and that's basically what I was just speaking of. This is not just the parents. Yes, parents, we want you to get them there on time and not pick them up early, but we also have to shore up some of our practices to make sure that we are getting that data corrected each day. We also are working with our Tier 2 attendance supports, plans, goals for students who drop below that 90%. We're actually identifying who those students are, meeting with those students, talking to them about what they need to do and how many days they need to come consistently in order to get above the 90% rate. So we are having those meetings at all of the schools. You've heard about all of the incentives that have been going on. Our attendance is popping, attendance, and all of these things, and celebrating even those parents who are getting children there on time. But let's continue to do so. And it's not all about the celebrations. We're also providing resources and support for our families, making sure that they have clothing. Most of our schools, if not all, have washers and dryers. We're there to wash clothes. We've had community members donate laundry detergent. So these are all things. We offer utility and food assistance and other resources. So we are here to remove all barriers. We just need the children. Our Tier 3, of course, we do have attendance contracts in place that are going across the district for those students who demonstrate chronic absenteeism, and that has frequent monitoring and feedback. We are also establishing clear systems of communication with local law enforcement, community organizations, mentoring programs, and our social services. Again, we need our children here, and this is not just it's not just a parent issue. We're working together. This is a community issue, and we're all in this together. All right. In addition to our attendance, one of the other pieces that Dr. Hunter spoke about with our APR, we also receive points through our college and career readiness. And on the chart that you may have seen with Dr. Hunter, it labels it as a success-ready graduate. And what we're saying when we're talking about a success-ready graduate, are our students, once they leave us, prepared to go to the workforce? Are they prepared to go to the military, 2-year and 4-year colleges? So part of that success-ready graduate includes documentation on how well they perform on a college and career readiness assessment. Some of those assessments include ACT, SAT, ASVAB, Work Keys, AccuPlacer. And one of the things that we've put in place, and these are our CSIP goals that we have listed here, and one of the things I want to say, our focus has been to make sure that we're getting all of our graduates completing at least one qualifying post-secondary assessment. And while that has been the goal, I must admit that we've spent a lot of time just focusing on ACT, when what we need to focus on is the best fit for each student. And what we found is that over 60% of our graduates leave us and go to the workforce. And if that's where our students are going, then we need to make sure that we are setting them up for an assessment that best demonstrates their skills. Our college and career coordinator, Ms. Tijan, has been going over to both Success Academy and the high school. Are you okay?
You need some water. I'll go get it.
Somebody has some water. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
Going over to the Success Academy and the high school to ensure that every student has taken a CCR assessment. Thus far, I think we have 40 students who still need to take an assessment at the high school and about 45 at the Success Academy who we're still assessing. So, but there are times that are scheduled for once we return, and we'll continue that focus then. But by June of 2026, we want to ensure that we have 85% of our graduating seniors to have completed a qualifying post-secondary assessment. And the way that we get points for the CCR assessment, we need at least 40% of our graduates scoring at or above the equivalent of an 18 on the ACT. And so that range goes, at different levels. For ASVAB, it's above a 30. For Work Keys, it's a 4. And but we're working on that, and we have systems in place right now to make sure that we're getting more students tested and more students scoring in that range. By June 2026, we will increase the number of dual credit and dual enrollment opportunities available to students as measured by the number of agreements with partner colleges, universities, and nonprofit organizations. We've already increased with the addition of our early college academy. We also have a new biology dual credit course that's on campus at the high school as well. By June 2026, and I do want to say we did earn full points in that area. And by June 2026, RGSD will increase the number of graduating students with college, technical school credits, industry credentials as measured by the number of students receiving stackable credentials through each industry credentialing exam by 10%. By June 2026, we will increase the percentage of students graduating in 4 years to 75% as measured by SIS K-12 and academic data. For this, we measured graduation rate either on the 4-year, 5-year, 6-year, or 7-year. And for this past year, we earned, let me go through this, 50% of the points based off of the 6-year rate. We're continuing to work on that 4-year rate. What we can tell you is students who stay with us graduate. Our issues for graduation rate have been with student mobility. With student mobility. And so we just want to make sure that, again, with data, we want to make sure that when we have a student who has left our district, we work to find out where they are. There have been so many times that we found out later that a student has transferred out of state, but that student still counts for us because they weren't transferred out appropriately. So we're working with our registrars, our secretaries, our counselors to ensure that that information is timely and that we are making those corrections as they happen. As far as the CCR assessments, again, we need 40% or above of our graduates scoring an 18 or higher on ACT or any equivalent to earn APR points. The advanced coursework, we earned full points in this area, so we want to continue to do so. For the graduate follow-up, this speaks to what our graduates are doing 180 days after they leave us. And we also earn full points in this area. For graduation rate, we will continue to work on those 4-year cohort rates, but in addition, still working on that 5, 6, or 7 rate to make sure that we are earning full points in that area. But we will at least earn the 50% in that area as we work to change some of our practices. And now I will turn this back over to Dr. Patton.
So as you can tell, we've got work to do, as I've constantly said. One of the things that we need to make sure we're doing is retaining good employees, retaining effective teachers. How do we do that? We've got to improve our climate and culture. And so we put in a lot of work with our different surveys that Ishmael has sent out to students and parents and staff members. We meet with the collaborative culture teams will meet 4 or 5 times a year to plan activities for our employees throughout the school year. We utilize restorative practices. That has been very effective in keeping our students in school, and you will see that in a slide to come. When we have our parent universities, we survey them. What are you interested in? Because we want to bring you in. If you think about our family engagement specialist, she has improved our family participation, and they are showing up at parent universities, they're showing up at our PAC meetings, so we are working diligently to keep our parents involved. In addition, we are developing extracurricular activities and have over the last few years to promote students, to motivate them is what I meant to say, to get them to school. So we are also doing those things because this is important. We've got to address our collaborative cultures. We've got to improve the culture of Riverview Gardens, which we have. I have to say that, and you will see the results right there. So our survey, when Ishmael sent out our survey, oh, it's so little, I can't see it up there. I got to read it from here. Sorry, hold on. The staff survey pride and optimism. I have it, Ishmael, thank you. From fall of 23 to fall of 24, it went from 67 to 78 favorability. School leadership, 46 to 53% favorability. District leadership, 36 to 46% favorability. Communication, 43 to 60% favorability. And then morale, 52 to 62% favorability. So we are improving, and we will continue to do that. When you talk about our discipline, our students have to be at school. And so I'm excited to show, now let me say this, when you see the discipline results right there, it is nothing to celebrate in terms of the number of referrals and the number of out-of-school suspensions. But when you compare them, first quarter of 2024, the first quarter of 2020, first quarter of 23-24 to first quarter of 24-25, you will see that as it relates to referrals, we've had a reduction of 595 referrals, which is a 26% reduction. As it relates to out-of-school suspensions from first quarter last year to first quarter this year, there's been a reduction of 247 out-of-school suspensions. That is a 29% reduction. And then we total it. We want to see, okay, we're suspending students for behaviors, but how much instructional time are we losing? So if you compare them, we have a reduction in instructional days lost by 1,303 days. That is a 41% improvement. So we are working really hard to keep our students in school, and we are doing that by addressing discipline in many ways. Elementary and secondary behavior expectation matrix, restorative classes at all levels. Typically, in the past, we've had it at the secondary level, but now our restorative teams are moving down to the elementary level to help support them. We've had professional development and developing positive climate and culture, setting the expectations for your students. We have bus simulations for bus behavior because students are sometimes being suspended from the bus. Well, we've got to make sure they're at school. We also employ 2 behavior specialists who work with principals and teachers to support positive behavior in their schools. And I have to shout out SSD because SSD covers the cost for those 2. And then we've already talked about the family engagement specialists. In addition to the eye care team, which I mentioned earlier, we have universals established. It's aligned to to our CSIPs in both areas, academically and behaviorally. We've strengthened our Tier 2 and our Tier 1 and 2 supports. We have a referral process to identify students who may need extra support with SSD services, and then we've brought in branching minds, which will help us track everything that we're doing with our students. Carl has really talked a lot about the building improvements, so I won't go over this, but we had a whole presentation on lighting, on cafeteria furniture. So he has worked hard in the time that he's been with us for HVAC, roofing, exterior lighting, painting, everything. As a matter of fact, Dr. Gerald sent me a video of our band, and the band was playing, the music was good, and all I could pay attention to was the walls that had been painted in the gym. So Carl and his team, the facilities team, I have to give them a shout out. They've done a great job. With Prop S, we also will be improving our security. So you'll see that we're going to be adding fencing around some of our school grounds. Some of our security systems will be enhanced so that we can better zoom in on the behavior of some of the people who are where they shouldn't be. I'll just say that. And then he already talked about the exterior lighting, the door replacement. You will see entry vestibules added. That will give an added layer of security, and then making sure that our facilities are ADA accessible. We have other opportunities that we are looking at as a team. We want to engage our community and our alumni. If you noticed, our alumni was here today to support our football team, and that is because we are trying to develop a relationship with them so that we can generate funding sources, meeting with the mayors of all of the municipalities to kind of generate businesses. That's going to bring taxes and funding. We would love to invest in this community by bringing a college or university satellite location. This is to help our parents as well as our students. Continue to recruit highly qualified staff and strengthen the foundation of our students. And what are we trying to get to? Full accreditation and creating effective learning environments for our students. That concludes the state of the district. I don't know how fast we did it, but I think we did a pretty good job of it. Are there any questions for us?
Just quickly, I know that the time is winding down. As far as the Prop S, does this support any water testing, asbestos, mold removal, or any of those types of things?
So actually, we've gone through water testing. That was a state mandate that has come down, and we went through that process actually last year. So we had all of our water tested, we posted the results, we remediated those things, and actually we're at the point where we're submitting for reimbursement. So so DESE did allocate funds to help districts with that cost, that expenditure related to water testing and remediation. So we are actually CFO and I met today just about that very topic, about submitting all of our paperwork for reimbursement that needs to be done prior to the end of January. So again, while we've made those improvements, we will be eligible for reimbursement of those expenses. So we incurred those expenses last year. We will get a reimbursement in this upcoming year.
The other question was about asbestos or mold. Does the Prop S support any treatment of that?
In terms of asbestos, obviously, if we're going to do projects that are intrusive and asbestos is in the way, yes, we would obviously incorporate that. So let me give you a for instance. As we're looking at secure entry vestibules, for instance, if we have asbestos containing material that happens to exist within that area, yes, it would have to be remediated first before we can actually do the construction. So that would be part of the construction. So.
Okay. Thank you. The question about ACT or post-secondary assessments, are we starting assessments with the children at least junior year or sophomore year to start getting some scores that will, I guess, meet the requirements by the time they're seniors?
Yes, ma'am. We usually have, Dr. May, a full junior day where it's not, they don't have to come on Saturdays or anything like that. They come in during the school day and we block out a period of time for them to come take the ACT, but also now, of course, the work keys and ASVAB. So we have a fall testing for all of those as well as a spring, and that also occurs at Success Academy as well.
Okay, but we just not getting enough students at that 18 or above or the 30 or whatever
Yes,
with the
ma'am.
ASVAB. Okay, so we have an ACT prep class?
We do have an ACT prep class this year. And we're partnering with Varsity Tutors.
Okay, perfect,
Yes.
perfect. That was my only other question, was about those post-secondary assessments and then what type of support. And I'm still not, I say it every time, I'm still not seeing much in the plan about doing the truancy on the parents. So I know that, I think it was mentioned that some of the government agencies are slow in processing, but are we at least doing our process in doing the truancy? That's all.
And we are doing it to some extent. We have Director Newton, who goes out to homes to, discuss some of the attendance concerns that we have, or if we want to check on a house to even see if
Keep going.
Residency,
to
right.
see if they live there.
There,
Yeah.
because we do have students, and I'll even say sometimes when I come in, I see a lot of students get off on Bi-State. And you see them then heading on up to the schools, and you're wondering, like, wait a minute, what's happening? So we are, doing our part to look into some of those, and we are contacting for educational neglect, because we do, especially at the elementary level, where parents are just keeping students at home. And frankly, I think that parents just got used to students being at home during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'll also say, Dr. May, that we are calling, when we make hotline calls, they often don't take the call because they are dealing with the physical abuse or some type of abuse that they don't prioritize school attendance in the way that it would be if they weren't so overwhelmed. So we are making those contacts. I will also say in the Student Services Department, we are challenging some of the enrollment of some of the students that are claiming to be students in transition. We understand that some of them are using that, and they are not truly students of transition, but in order to keep ourselves out of trouble, we let them enroll, and then we start the dispute resolution process, and then invite them to leave. And so we are working very hard to make sure that the students who should be in Riverview Gardens are the ones that are here, but we are doing our best with their truancy. They often are not taking the calls, I'll be honest with you.
There was a section where I was seeing that it was zeros, but it didn't say floor, it said participation. why did the data say participation versus floor, which was what was presented earlier?
I'm not sure which.
I believe that may have been in the area of the biology and the social studies. And so each school is charged with ensuring that 95% of the students take the test assessment. What I do know is that at the end of the school year, when all went through, 95% of the students that were listed on our data had taken the test. At the beginning of the year, and I'm taking full responsibility, okay? At the beginning of the year, we get information through DESE that shows another wave of students who, through whatever report that they receive that says, hey, this student has not been picked up somewhere else, this student is now listed on your data. If the student needs to be removed because they've taken the test somewhere else and should not have tested with us because they've already passed it somewhere else, we are allotted a short window of time to make sure that those students are removed off and that we send an appeal. I missed the deadline for the appeal, and thus we did not receive those points.
Okay, so, but it'll just say participation,
It
not
says
floor?
participation because those added students now made us fall below the 95% rate.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
Other questions?
I do have a question. I think it's probably for Dr. Hunter, or maybe one of you can answer it. Tell me, what does testing look like? In other words, how is it done? So, for example, sixth grade, I know they test ELA and math. Are you completing all of that testing in 1 week? Are they allowed 2 days to test and 2 days to make up? What does that look like?
I'm going to let Dr. Hunter speak to the assessment plan that we developed and that the board approved.
So the way testing typically works and the way it'll work this year is that they'll have a range of days to complete MAP ELA. During that time, the schedule will come out where they'll have days where they're testing with different sessions, and then they're typically given makeup days on usually Mondays and Fridays. So once we get through the entire MAP testing window, there are extra makeup days at the end for any students who may have missed so that they can come in and take the necessary sessions that they need.
I guess I'm asking you to be a little bit more specific. I'll take for an example, in the school where I taught, sixth grade took the ELA on Tuesday, and then they took the math on Wednesday. Thursday, a counselor or someone was picking them up and saying, hey, you missed Tuesday's test. Let me take you down.
That's exactly how it's set up.
So we're not stretching that test out for the whole week long. Because, and you know, as a teacher, I'm thinking, oh, these poor kids, but now I understand. You don't want to leave those tests on the table because if Johnny didn't come back to school, I got it. All right, thank you.
I have a question.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right, I have lots of questions. The first is a comment. The student discipline data is very impressive, the improvement in the data. What does the district attribute the decline in referrals and out-of-school suspensions for first quarter versus last year?
We attribute, this one's louder, I'll use this one. We attribute it to the tiered interventions that are in place. We attribute it to the restorative process that we have in place. We attribute it to the restorative personnel that are also feeding into the elementary buildings to help support that. And so hopefully if we continue that, by the time they get to the middle and high schools, we can begin to see a reduction. But it's a whole lot of work of a whole lot of people that are really putting in an effort. The eye care teams that are meeting to discuss students' behavior and their academics. So I think it's all of those things put together.
Okay, yeah, secondary was very impressive.
Mhm.
Westview in the high school, very impressive. Next thing, this is about attendance, so I don't know.
Come on up, Miss Nave.
Ms. Nave, so a couple of questions. Do we know why the students really aren't coming? What are our top 3 things that we know? And the reason I'm asking is there are a lot of good strategies that the district is implementing regarding attendance and incentives. Could it be maybe we should look at different strategies or different incentives to address attendance?
And absolutely, but some of the main things that we're finding when we're investigating these attendance issues across the district, even when we look at, I'm thinking of one particular situation where we had about 3 students with this one family, and when we look into the background, they had issues at their previous school district with attendance that were hotline. The previous district before that, attendance issues, and the parent wanted to say that it was because she needed transportation. But it was in such a short distance, we didn't have transportation to go from that. And so I think that, again, I just have to say that I believe that a lot of parents just got used to their children being at home. And if one child is sick, everybody's staying home for that. And I'm sure,
That's what I was going to say.
The principals can agree with that. It's just one of those things. I didn't know that I didn't have to go to school. I thought I had to go to school every single day. I had to be there on time. And right now, the importance is also working at an earlier age. I did start working at 15, but I mean, we were asking for workers' permits at 14. It never interfered with my schooling, but it is now, we're wanting to work more hours. They're wanting to, keep that going to support the families. And that's just some of the things that I've seen. I don't know if.
Let me add in that a lot of, there's attendance issues across the country. Attendances are across the country since COVID. And it is happening, as a matter of fact, it's happening not only in this country. I think I mentioned that I was on a Zoom call with a gentleman that was sitting in London, and he was talking about the attendance issues at the schools in London. And so, Ms. Williams, we are pulling out every stop, everything that we can think of, from gift cards to parents, to washing clothes, to bus passes, to we'll come and pick them up, right? But I think Ms. Nave hit it on the head when she said that if one baby is sick, the parents have to go to work in order to keep the lights on. Somebody's got to stay home to watch that baby, and oftentimes it's an older sibling.
Even if a parent is hospitalized or they're at home on bed rest, then the child stays home to help take care of that child, or they're serving as babysitters, to stay with the other siblings. So there are a wide range, but a lot of it is just family
dynamics.
Yep.
I was wondering, I remember attendance issues 30 years ago when I worked for St. Louis Public Schools as a teacher, and so I wonder if we are partnering with like districts to get some strategies or implement some of the strategies that they're using to address attendance.
So I can speak to that. I do know that as an assistant superintendent of student support services, we had a cohort of assistant superintendents who was responsible for attendance. We met monthly, and we met monthly at Ed Plus. We were generating a list of ideas. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And what we found is that we are all repeating the same things over and over and over. That's not to say that this can't improve. We are going to keep trying, but I do know that in my monthly meetings, attendance was always on the agenda, and we generated a list of ideas, and we're just recycling the same idea in different districts.
Okay, and I'm switching gears now. Okay. So going to the points for full accreditation, I know the max is 200 based on that document, and we received 128.5. How many more points will we need to get full accreditation?
I think we need go ahead, Ms. Nave.
70 would have put us there, and if we had gotten the 4 points for the KEA assessment, which was a quick win, and then I think there was another 7 that we left on the table, we would have made it.
Okay, and so with that, can you tell us again, Dr. Hunter, how did we miss the KEA implementation of that assessment?
We gave Star Renaissance Early Literacy to our kindergarten scholars. Me and Dr. Patton sat and we did some research because we're both new to this position. And, you know, just trying to figure out when was the approved list for the KEA sent out. It was sent out in 2022.
Yes.
And how it was missed, I can't speak for that, but what I can say is it's been rectified this year. And we are using the appropriate assessment, which is the KOF, and all of our kindergarten teachers have been trained, and it's already completed and submitted to DESE.
So there are specific assessments that we needed to give, and the one we gave wasn't one of them. And we should have known that because DESE made it clear, and we missed it.
Okay. All right. Let's move to the Collaborative Culture Committee. Who makes up that committee, or what positions? And are they currently meeting? Because Dr. Patton, you said they will meet 4 times a year.
They have been meeting.
They have been
Ishmael
meeting.
makes up that. Deirdre Liddell, Amber White, Tiara Armin, our family engagement person, Carmen Mays. We have a parent on that committee, so they meet 4 times a year. They've already met, I think, twice. I'm going to say twice. And they are planning ways to improve our climate and culture.
So are there any teachers on the committee or support staff?
Are there any teachers? Domingo Loggins from Restorative from Central Middle School. Yeah.
And last question about so what have been the results of that committee? What kinds of things have come out of that committee in terms of implementing improving the culture and climate in the district for employees?
So I can just tell you, when I was on that committee in the student services position, we planned district-wide events for our staff members. So I'm trying to think of some of the things we did last year. We did a lot of things last year. Come on up here, Liddell. Hand Liddell the phone. So we did bowling last year as a group. There were 2 nights of bowling. I think Ishmael and Dr. Singleton arranged that. We have the end of the year party that happens at Central Services. What are some of the other things we did last year?
Well, we're currently planning a trivia night for staff right now to be held before the end of December, sorry.
December 13th.
Yes. All right, thank you.
Are there other questions? All right, that concludes the State of the District for 2024. Thank you. Thank you to this team as well, Ms. Nave. Where'd she go? Dr. Hunter disappeared. But I do want to say that in terms of this presentation, we worked on it as a team. I limited the number of people that were presenting because I didn't want a lot of transitions. So this entire team that you see in front of you contributed to this presentation. It was a team effort, so thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Patton. Thank you so much, all of you, for your hard work.
Yeah.
We certainly appreciate you and your transparency and your honesty. We appreciate you. All right. At this time, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
That was quick. It was moved by Dr. Yvonne Elliott. Can I get a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody else want to speak? Any opposed? No. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful
Happy holiday.
Happy holidays. Enjoy your holiday. That was precious.
Okey-dokey.
What you say? Say it one more time, baby. Oh. Well,
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Go home, make your greens, your sweet potatoes. Don't make the ham. No ham. No.